Hey now, 580 Sports Talk going up on a Tuesday. Brendan Dworzinski and Dan Lucero here with you. What a great day to be alive. What a great day to be hanging out with us on 580 Sports Talk. 3 full hours coming your way today. And oh boy, do we have a lot to get to. We've got new national champions in college basketball, pretty similar to a lot of recent national champions. They're called Connecticut Huskies. UConn with an impressive win last night to take down San Diego State. We will talk all about the national championship game and an all-time great run for UConn, an all-time dominant run through the tournament for UConn. We'll get to that coming up here in just a matter of moments. We've got some Kansas City Royals baseball to get to a little bit later on. Plus, by the way, we've got a very interesting question about UConn compared to last year's national championship winning program, KU. We'll get to that a little bit later this hour as well. We'll talk some Royals baseball. After I spent about 15 minutes yesterday talking about how scared I was about the offense, all of a sudden they had 9 runs in 9 innings yesterday.
Weird. Hit
Pretty
the ball
good.
hard, hit it in the air. Sometimes it'll go where no one can catch it.
Love to hear it. Love to see it.
Stay with the process. Good process eventually begets good results.
For what it is worth, I did say yesterday, we have a small sample size, not worth getting too worked up about it, but it was discouraging. We have been re-encouraged. We're doing fine. Royals
are back.
Thank you for doing that.
Royals are so back.
The young guys contributing. Great game for the Royals yesterday. More Royals baseball coming up tonight, too, against the Blue Jays. We'll talk about that throughout the duration of the show today. Michael Swain is going to stop by. Speaking of the Kansas Jayhawks, Michael Swain's going to join us bottom of the 4 o'clock hour for Jayhawk Weekly. Yesterday was quite a day for KU fans, especially the way too online KU fan.
The perpetually online Jayhawk, yes.
I think I have really thinking about Kansas basketball more than maybe anything else in my life. I feel like I'm usually fairly rational about things and can have perspective on it. A lot of fans yesterday were very worried that Bill Self was retiring. A lot of them. And I suppose we do not know exactly what is going to happen tomorrow when he speaks to the media. But I feel like we have a pretty good idea, and we're going to set some things straight with Michael Swain coming up later on in the show today. Don't worry. I think things are going to be okay. Do not worry too much. Just stop reading real estate listings from West Lawrence. Stop reading about condos that certain basketball coaches are buying in South Florida. Don't worry about it. Things are going to be okay. We'll talk about that coming up later on in the show. We also, of course, have our What is Wrong with You, brought to you by Top City Metal Supply. We'll play Random Question Tuesday. I've got a food question for Dan coming up here in just a little bit. We've got tons of 580 Sports Talk headlines to get to. All that is coming up over the course of the next 3 hours here on 580 Sports Talk. We would love, as always, for you to jump on and be a part of the show. That includes on the text line, 785-272-9429. We'll try not to anger anyone today. Apparently, things were getting feisty on the text line earlier.
Maybe.
We'll try to not anger anyone today. And, of course, hop on to the comment section on the YouTube live stream. Our YouTube channel is called Sports on 580 WIBW. Short, sweet, to the point. Type it in. Watch the live stream. You can hop into the comment section as well. Mark already jumped into the comment section on YouTube. Says hello to both of us. Terrific Tuesday. Agree, Mark. It absolutely is. Our guy Vance also says the Royals are now on pace to win 41 games.
Is that right?
Yeah.
1 in 4. Yeah, I guess that is. That's 40 of
40.5, really.
Yeah.
We'll round up to 41. Hey, small sample size, though.
Listen.
If we get to a point where they're like 4 and 16,
the pace has increased.
That's true.
From where we were sitting here yesterday, they were on a pace for 0. They accelerated their pace.
Great point. Sam also hopping into the YouTube comments says, "What's up, dudes?" Sam, saw dude. Great to see all you guys, whether you're watching, listening, checking us out online, 580WIBW.com. We appreciate you being a part of the show for today. And we have a lot to get to on the show today, so let's jump right into it. We crowned another national champion last night. Unfortunately, the reign of the Kansas Jayhawks has come to a close. But the UConn Huskies, for the 5th time in 25 years, under a 3rd head coach, are champions of college basketball. Part of me said that the final score wasn't completely representative of how competitive the game was, because I really do think San Diego State, that was a very good effort. It was a strong effort. They fought. They didn't make nearly enough shots, but they're a well-coached team. They played tough. They played like a mature veteran team. But by the same token, while they got it within 5 in the second half, was there ever a juncture over 40 minutes where you felt like UConn is going to lose this game?
No, there was never a point. Credit San Diego State, they got behind big in the second half, very much like the Florida Atlantic game. And then they were able to get the game. They were able to dictate the pace and the tempo like they did against Florida Atlantic by making sure that there was no pace and there was no tempo and there was no flow to the basketball game. It became a foul fest. There were free throws every possession. They muddied the game up. And then all of a sudden you looked up and wait, how are they within single digits?
Yeah.
It felt exactly like the FAU game. It felt like that in that way, but UConn's so much better than Florida Atlantic and UConn's so much better than San Diego State. They got within 5, the Aztecs did, and they deserve the credit for doing that. But then UConn scored the next 9 points. They came out and they ran a play, and Jordan Hawkins elevated off of a dribble handoff and buried a 3 at the top of the key and just reminded you again of the stark difference between the playmakers and the shot makers that UConn has and that San Diego State, frankly, did not. I predicted an 18-point win. I was actually pretty close. I said 78-60, 76-59, and not too far off.
No, not at all.
And I do think that the final score, maybe not reflective of the second half. UConn kind of played with their food a little bit. They should have gone. They should have gone into half up by 20.
That's what Hurley said on TV.
Yes,
you don't hear that very often.
No, you really don't. Like, we should be up by 20 points is not a thing a coach generally says to a national TV audience. But was it reflective of the gulf between those two teams? Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, I think so too. And look, San Diego State's a really good team. They were a really good team. If that game had been San Diego State, Miami, we might be talking about a mid-major championship today. We really may have. That's a good veteran team. Love Brian Dutcher.
They're disciplined. They stuck to what they do. They didn't really get out of what they, even when they were down big, they didn't necessarily get out of what it is that they try and do, which get stops, and get easy baskets on the other end, get around the rim, and they start knocking down some mid-ranges. And UConn had a couple of turnovers, and then you look up, bang, it's a 5-point game. They didn't go away. They were every bit as tough as they had been throughout the tournament. And they do deserve the credit for that. Like we said on yesterday's show, they belonged in that game. Yes. They earned their way into that game. They deserved to be in that game.
What to me is kind of a, one specific thing that sort of indicates though the gap in those two teams. The best player of the tournament, and specifically the Final Four, the best player in that game and the guy who made the most important shot of the game, 3 different players. Adama Sanogo, absolutely deserving of Final Four most outstanding player, no doubt about it.
Yeah, there wasn't anything that anybody could do with him all tournament long.
Here's the best tournament comparison for what Adama Sanogo has done over the last 6 games. Literally Hakeem Olajuwon. Like that's how good he has been. The best player in the game, Tristan Newton. He was awesome. He was phenomenal throughout the entire game.
Except for like the half dozen possessions where he was the worst player on the court. The
Tristan Valley.
Yes, the Tristan Newton experience contains some peaks and it contains some valleys. He was in full control of that game except when he was like lazily getting his pocket picked at midcourt or throwing bad passes.
It's like when you're playing Madden and you're crushing the computer, so you decide, what if I just don't punt? What if I just go for it on 4th and 20? What happens? And it doesn't go well.
You get lazy and you get bored. UConn, again, like I said, they played with their food a little bit. But yeah, Newton was really good. You mentioned the guy who hit the biggest shot. Obviously, that was Hawkins, who started that 9-0 run late that really put the game beyond doubt. Did San Diego State score when Donovan Clingan was on the court?
I'm not sure that they did.
It felt like I don't think they made a field goal when Donovan Clingan was on the court. Like they may have launched themselves into him and drawn a couple of fouls and got to the free throw line. That first half was so ugly for San Diego State offensively.
They went 9 minutes without a field goal.
And it was at its ugliest when Donovan Clingan was in the game because like they didn't know what to do. No. They were passing out of good looks.
Yeah. No.
Under the basket.
And that's why the big man in college basketball is still, I'm not sure what phrase to use. It's not really a market inefficiency, but it's still like the overpowered weapon. Like, you ever played Super Smash Bros? The hammer. Like that or the home run bat. That's what having a good big man is.
And they had 2.
Yeah, they've got 2, which is just freakish. To the point where the Ringer in their latest NBA mock draft, they've Clingan as a first-round pick.
Yeah.
which is crazy. He didn't even start. He's not even the best of the two in the college game.
No, he's going to play in the NBA a long time because he's 7'2". He's got soft hands, and you saw throughout the tournament the minutes that he played. What a defensive difference maker he was.
Yeah, I mean it changes everything to still have that kind of rim protector man in the middle in college basketball. Our guy Christopher in the YouTube comment section mentioned this point, and I've thought this for 2 weeks now. He says, yeah, that UConn team was a juggernaut. They were completely undefeated outside their own conference. Even had the Jayhawks survived Arkansas, they weren't beating the Huskies. Yeah, and I think that's what kind of made that loss to Arkansas a little less painful for me personally. Like, yeah, they ain't beating UConn, man. Yeah. There's no way.
You know, a little bit of irony, I suppose, that in a year where the constant refrain was, are there any great teams? Do we have a great team in college basketball? There are no great teams in college basketball. No, there was a great team in college basketball. It just took them a little while to reveal themselves, and maybe they camouflaged themselves by going 3-5 somehow in January. But no, there was a great team in college basketball, and we saw it at its absolute best in this NCAA tournament. And they put together a tournament run that we talked about this. I was on with Crosstalk with the Mic'd Up guys earlier this afternoon. Like, only 2018 Villanova had a run through an NCAA tournament that looks anything like this.
Yeah.
Where they were just that much better than everybody they played. This UConn team winning every game by double digits, and only occasionally were the games competitive. They trailed, I think, in the second half of their 6 games for, like, if you combine all 6 games, they trailed for less than a minute in the second half of all 6 of their games.
They trailed in the entire tournament for under 6 minutes. You take, what would that be, 240 minutes of gameplay. They trailed for under 6. And the majority of it was, I believe, in the game yesterday. Like, more than a plurality of it. I mean, it's just incredible what they were able to put together. And yeah, I mean, you talk about the best runs of all time through the NCAA tournament. And I'm not sure. I mean, Villanova, yes, that's the obvious answer right there. I think that's pretty clearly the best one. I wanted to go back and look at the final scores from 2012 because I didn't remember all of them. Obviously, Kentucky, Anthony Davis, one of the best college players of all time to beat KU in the national championship game. Their 2 wins in the Final Four were both by single digits, which still, you beat a really good Louisville team by 8, rivalry game even in the Final Four. That's a good win. You beat a KU team, you hold them to 59 points and beat them by 8. That's obviously a good win too. But that's not beating everyone by 13 or 15 plus. I mean, this is
that's a different level. That's total and complete control.
And this is without, a true, we were talking about the superstar presence in college basketball. Sanogo, great player. Hawkins, great player. Anthony, none of those guys are Anthony Davis. Like, they didn't have that true superstar.
We're not going to be talking about any of these individual players to tell the history of college basketball. Kind of like that 2018 Villanova team. Like, Jalen Brunson was an awesome college player. But when you talk about the greatest college basketball players you've ever seen, how long would you have to be sitting at the bar stool having that conversation before you landed on Jalen Brunson? Unless you're like 12.
Yeah. Or you had to, sit there through it, which
we did.
Let me tell you my thoughts about Eric Paschal. He's the best big man of all time. Amari Spellman, Hall of Fame.
Raining threes.
Yeah, this was awe-inspiring, honestly. Dude, they've got 5 titles in 25 years. That's incredible. And again, 3 different coaches. Calhoun, obviously, the architect of the whole program. Winning a title with Kevin Ollie, I don't really care who was on that team or how wild that tournament was. Kevin Ollie is an all-time college basketball doofus of the coaching ranks. And they won a title with him as a coach. And now Hurley, who's obviously a good coach, I think during his career, both at Rhode Island and now at UConn, there have been moments where you maybe question some of his tactical abilities, but obviously a good coach. That's really, really impressive.
That was the weirdest tournament ever, 2014. I don't think we're ever going to get a tournament.
Easily.
We're never going to get a tournament like that again. That was just, this tournament is a random number generator in a lot of ways, but usually pretty weighted towards, your ones, your twos, your threes. And we had a very weird tournament this year in regards to that, with no number one seeds in the Elite Eight, and all of those programs in the Elite Eight that had never won a championship before. But through it all, we had one great team laying in the weeds and destroying everybody. And they got their moment last night. Christopher also points out in the YouTube comments,
this is a really good pull.
Yeah. 09 North Carolina beat everybody by double digits. They beat Villanova by 14 in the Final Four. They beat Michigan State so bad. That was the game that Billy Packer said was over 10 minutes into the first half, right? Yeah, that was that title game.
Honest to God, I do not remember that game. I remember the 09 season. I do not remember that national championship game one iota. I just remember being mad because I didn't like North Carolina, but I do not remember that game being played.
I just remember Billy Packer saying it was over.
Yeah.
10 minutes into the first half. He's like, this game is over. Like, I'm sure CBS was thrilled that their lead analyst basically told everyone. I think that was Packer's last Final Four, too.
That would make sense.
If I remember correctly, that was his last Final Four. And he said, yeah, this game's over. But yeah, they stomped out everybody. They beat Gonzaga by 21 in the Sweet 16. Their closest game was a 12-point win over Oklahoma in the Elite Eight that year. You look at that team, I guess if your answer there, all-time great college player, your answer is Tyler Hansbrough. They also had, point guard of the year, Ty Lawson, Danny Green, long NBA career. That was a pretty excellent basketball team. Let's not forget about 09 North Carolina.
All right, so maybe that's the three of modern memory then. This year's UConn, 18 Villanova, and then that 09 North Carolina team.
I do not have the words or enough airtime today or any other day to tell you how much I hate Tyler Hansbrough. Not hated. I still hate Tyler Hansbrough.
So what brought that on? Like, just
part of it,
demeanor,
residual Duke fandom from my childhood was part of it. So I'm like predisposed not to like North Carolina very much. But just the biggest crybaby in the world. Every time he got breathed on, he thought it was 2-shot foul. Just complained and whined. I did not like his body language. I did not like his demeanor. I didn't like his face, frankly.
Yeah. I mean, Psycho T didn't come, from nowhere.
No, Psycho T is one of the worst nicknames I've ever heard in my life. Like,
no, I mean, he was an extremely unlikable player.
No, did not care one bit for Tyler Hansbrough, and I'm glad he had a crappy NBA career. I'm glad.
He played for the Pacers?
Yes, Pacers drafted him, which was, chef's kiss. Absolutely perfect. 4 years with them, 2 with Toronto. One with Charlotte. He's been kicking around other countries, plays for the Cangrejeros de Santurce of Baloncesto Superior Nacional in Puerto Rico.
Sure.
Which this first I'm hearing of that.
Yes, the iconic basketball heritage of Puerto Rico.
He is he's not listed, though, on the current roster, although you know who is. K-State great, Ramon Clemente.
Hey, how about that?
No, sorry, not Ramon Clemente. That's Dennis Clemente. Ramon Clemente is Wichita State great.
There you go. Overall,
my bad. Sorry, Cat fans. Like that's a bad miss by me. That's my bad.
Hey, it happens. We've all been there. Speaking of North Carolina, because I hate North Carolina and everything that program stands for, this was a pretty likable UConn team. Like, there was no, I hate watching this team. Like, I just really don't enjoy.
No, the team playing last night that I did not enjoy watching, frankly, was San Diego State.
Yeah, I mean, they don't play, like you said yesterday, they do not play aesthetically pleasing basketball.
Yes, that's not what I show up for when I show up to watch basketball. I show up to watch, like, what UConn is selling.
Yeah.
Much more than what San Diego State's giving me. Like, I think it's wonderful as you can hold a team under 60 points. I recognize that's a valid way to win. It's just, I don't like watching rock fights. That's not my preferred style of basketball. I can acknowledge its effectiveness. I can acknowledge that programs win with it. I can acknowledge that it got San Diego State. Remarkable. San Diego State playing for a national championship in basketball is a remarkable accomplishment.
Yeah.
I'm not taking away from that at all. Given the choice between watching a San Diego State game, watching a UConn game, I'm going to pick the UConn game.
No, I think that's entirely fair. I did want to bring up one thing, speaking of this UConn team and what they were able to do and how they got to this point after they hadn't made it out of the second weekend in years. What was it, 2011?
I think that
the last tournament where they had made a run? No, well, it couldn't have been 2011. They won a title in 14. But it was since 14 that they had not gotten out of the first weekend, I believe.
Yes, correct. And they'd only been to the tournament, I think, twice in that span.
So Matt Brown, who we've had on the show before, author of the Extra Points newsletter, we'll have him on again sometime during the summer months because his stuff is phenomenal. He's working on a book on the business of sports, by the way. Interesting stuff. Anyway, he put together a newsletter this past week, right before the Final Four, of how these teams built their rosters and where their players came from for the 4 Final Four teams. You had San Diego State, which had 3 Division I transfers, including 2 just in their main 5, 2 who were from high major leagues, both Bradley and Ledee. And then Darion Trammell, he was a JUCO and mid-major transfer into San Diego State, plus 2 high school recruits who are both in the top 300 in the country. Florida Atlantic had 2 Power 5 high major transfers in Golden and Greenlee, and then a couple of their own high schoolers who were pretty low-ranked recruits, including Elijah Martin, who was awesome the whole tournament. Miami had major big-name transfers and, a lot of NIL money that got pumped into it. And then you had UConn, which had 4 of their own, of their main contributors, 4 high school recruits, and then Tristan Newton was a transfer from East Carolina. Like, that is the most traditional, not authentic, but the, traditional, you recruit your guys, they sit as freshmen, they play a little as sophomores, as juniors, they really contribute. Maybe you have a freshman like Klingon off the bench who's just a freak, so he gets on the floor for a while. That's really the traditional way to build your program. But you had 4 totally different styles of building it.
Well, Calcaterra was a transfer too, right?
Yes, he was. He was from San Diego.
Yeah.
Yes. So, yes, but most of their contributors were homegrown, so to speak.
Right.
So it was fascinating that in this year of, oh my God, the portal, and oh my God, NIL and all this stuff, the team that won was A, favored by the math all year, and B, built themselves kind of a traditional way. Yeah,
it's proof positive that the surest way to build a winning basketball team is to get good basketball players.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
There are a lot of different ways that can be accomplished.
We will take a timeout here on 580 Sports Talk. We've got more national championship to get to later this hour, including a comparison of the last 2 programs who have won national titles, KU and UConn. We'll get to that coming up in a little bit. But first things first, we've got some Random Question Tuesday coming up after this on 580 Sports Talk. Just getting started on this Tuesday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Brendan Dworzinski and Dan Lucero here with you. Got some Random Question Tuesday coming your way. Inspired by my wife this weekend baking me a delicious, authentic Swedish kladdkaka. It's a chocolate gooey sponge cake. Delicious. Best thing I ever ate when I had it in Stockholm. So she made one for me this weekend. It was phenomenal. And it made me think, if you were going to compete in a cooking or baking competition, what are you making? It's just make your best dish is the competition.
Okay. I'm either doing something real simple, like what are the, I don't have any constraints on this. It can be just like whatever I got to use, whether it's a crock pot meal or whether it's,
it's just bring your best meal to our competition.
Okay. There is a recipe that I have for, pulled chicken thighs, green chili chicken. That I put in the crock pot and I let it slow cook. It's about a 7-hour slow cook. Season the chicken thighs, get about 2 pounds boneless chicken thighs, throw them in the crock pot, season them, put some green salsa in there with them, slow cook them for 7 hours. You can put them in like a rice bowl, a burrito bowl. You put them on a sandwich. That's how I'd like to eat them, like on a bun with a little bit more of the green salsa. That would probably be my specialty. At least that's what my wife likes best when I cook. So that is going to be my choice.
There's a number of things I can make. My wife does the majority of the cooking, but I enjoy cooking and I can certainly do it. My salmon, fairly basic, but I think I do a pretty good job cooking and seasoning it. I can make a pretty nice chicken parm. That's another one I'm pretty solid at. I can make a good chicken parm.
Okay.
Hand breaded and all that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, I like chicken parm. It's good. Running out of time to make it at home, though, because the oven, it gets all hot. And then,
yeah.
Our apartment retains heat like nowhere I've ever lived before. It's absurd. Like, I was sitting at home yesterday. Last night it was warm, but not unseasonably warm. I'm like sweating at home. It was unbelievable. It's like living in an oven.
Don't quite have that problem, but getting home at 6 makes it, we get off the air at 6, so I'm home. I don't live too far, so I don't have too long a commute, but you get home about 6 and like you're already hungry for dinner and you don't want to spend like an hour cooking something. So for me, you're looking for something quick, something maybe you can throw in the air fryer, something you can throw, the nice thing about the chicken thighs, you throw them in the crock pot and then cook all day while I'm at work. And then I need more good crock pot recipes. 785-272-9429. Your best crock pot recipe for your boy Dan.
My wife can text you a bunch. We had barbecue chicken the last couple of nights. Delicious in the crock pot.
Okay.
Phenomenal.
I do. I need some crock pot recipes. Put them in the YouTube comments. Send me links.
Yeah, please do. No, I'll take these too. Please.
Yeah, for real.
Let's see. We've got a couple of answers here. Mark says he makes pigs in a blanket. That definitely counts. Hey, if they're good, they count.
Yeah.
Vance also says I make a killer strawberry cheesecake. The entree would be an enchilada casserole.
Oh, interesting.
That's like the most Midwest phrase ever. Enchilada casserole. That sounds delicious, though. That's not an insult.
No.
Also, I know Vance is a big baker. I remember, he brought us a wonderful gift of a delicious pie this year.
Yes.
Oh my God, it was incredible.
Awesome stuff.
What's your random
lasagna?
Question?
Interesting submission from the 785 on the text line.
But you're part of the anti-lasagna cult of this radio station.
Not a big lasagna guy. Have to be honest.
I would put that down in a heartbeat. I love lasagna.
It's like I like all of the components of lasagna very much. I don't know. Maybe it's a texture thing with me. I don't know. Maybe I'd enjoy it more coming out of the crock pot or the Instant Pot or whatever.
I went to dinner. We went to an Italian place, my wife and I, a couple weeks ago. And the whole time I thought, I'm going to get lasagna. I love the lasagna here. That's what I'm going to get. At the last moment, I said, no, I'm going to try something new. And I regretted it immediately. Oh, lasagna every day of the week. I would eat it. That's a top 5 dinner meal for me, I think. Maybe top 3. That's how much I love it.
My random question today.
Let's do it.
Very simple one. You are allotted as a sports fan 3 championships to disperse among your favorite teams as you see fit. They will not be the only ones that you will see them win. Perhaps you've already seen your teams win, but if you allot them a championship in this exercise, they will get no more in your lifetime. It will only be the ones that you allot to them. If you do not assign a team a championship, then you're leaving it up to the hands of fate. But you get 3.
I get 3. Man, I've seen this prompt on Twitter where you get like 5. That's much easier to do. All right. So if I give Team A all 3, that means they
will win 3. You don't get to choose win, but they will win 3, and then they'll be done.
Okay. I am not going to give any to Kansas basketball because I'm going to trust historical precedents that they will be able to win on their own.
You've seen one fairly recently, and if you've gotten to enjoy that. Yeah.
By the same token, and on the reverse side of that spectrum, I will certainly be giving one to Kansas football. Easy to give one there. So I've got 2 left. I would give... So if I only give the Packers 1, that means they're only going to win 1 the rest of my life.
Yes.
The Bulls make me too mad. They do not deserve good things. As long as Jerry Reinsdorf is around, he does not deserve it. Man, I feel like at that point, I might just do 2 to the Packers.
Okay.
But I got a lot of life left. Well, I mean, theoretically, I hope I have a lot of life left. That's like 2 in the course of 60-ish years. I don't know. That'd be tough. Yeah, I'll go 2 to the Packers. Yeah.
See, I only need like 1 from my favorite teams, I think, to be truly satisfied. And so I will give 1 to the Rockies and 1 to the Nuggets. And or maybe I don't give 1 to the Nuggets and just trust that Jokic wins one eventually. And then see where the chips fall after that. But I mean, they've gone 50 years and never made an NBA finals. So maybe maybe I should take the guaranteed route with them.
See, that's what I'm like. I think KU football is going to continue being better. I don't think they're going to ever win a national championship.
Yeah, unless you bequeath them one.
Yeah,
in the course of the exercise. Yeah, you know what? I will give 2 to the Rockies, 1 more to the Seahawks, and I will let fate do what it must with the Nikola Jokic Denver Nuggets.
Helps to have a multiple-time MVP on your team to help out.
Yeah, in his prime or entering his prime, arguably.
We would love for you to play this game as well, either the YouTube comments or on the text line, 785-272-9429. You get 3 championships to divvy up among your favorite teams. How many go to who? Let us know, text line or in the YouTube comments. Also have some recipes, some favorite meals. Another one from Christopher here. My pineapple upside down cake is to die for. That sounds good. I love pineapple. I'll eat pineapple in anything too. Send in your recipes, your favorite things as well to the text line in the YouTube comments. We have to get to a commercial break. We'll talk more college hoops after this on 580 Sports Talk. on 580 Sports Talk. Brendan and Dan here with you until 6 o'clock today. One entrant from our friend Mark on YouTube, Dan, for your random question today about assigning championships to your favorite teams. He says one for K-State basketball, one for Sporting KC, and one for the K-State women as well on the basketball court. I like that.
I like this strategy from our texter from the 913 on the text line. The Patriots, Jayhawks basketball, and Yankees, because I'm tired of hearing about all of them. Give them one more, and then they never win again.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah,
I'm not going to lie, man. That's pretty funny.
That's good strategy.
That is a commitment to hating, and I respect it. That's awesome.
And faith in your own favorite teams to do it themselves. I respect the hell out of that.
Yeah, I respect that a lot, too.
Great text.
That's awesome. All right. The last two teams that have won the national championship, the UConn Huskies and the Kansas Jayhawks. People do forget that. God, a year ago. What a time. UConn now has won 5 championships since 1999. By the way, UConn as a whole in basketball, men's and women's, 0 championships in 1995. They now have 16 total. Yeah. Since 95. That's just my lifetime. Well, 94, but still. Unbelievable. So they've got 5 titles in the last 24 years. Their men do. 80%. I didn't know this stat until you put this in our notes. They've won 80% of their NCAA tournament games.
Yeah, in that run, yeah.
That's crazy. That's outrageous.
Yes, it's a tremendous amount of success in a tournament that's built to make you lose.
Yeah. Yeah, it is the most random championship in all of sports.
They have won 80% of their tournament games.
And they've been to 6 Final Fours and have won 5 championships.
6 Final Fours, 5 title games. 5-0 in title games, including once as a 9.5-point underdog to Duke, which that was the 99 final. That was a little disrespectful to that UConn team, but Duke certainly by reputation was like the favorite. Maybe they shouldn't have been 9.5-point favorites, but they were reasonable to have been the favorites. That's looked upon and always will be as one of the great upsets in the history of the NCAA championship game.
I believe UConn was 34-2 that year.
Yeah.
And Duke had such a reputation that
well, that might have been Krzyzewski's best team.
Crazy.
There were those who said that at the time, and then they didn't finish the deal. But then, so you had a great UConn team pull an upset 99. And now 2 of UConn's championships they've won as the best team in the field. This year's and 2004, they were a pre-tournament favorite going in. That was the Emeka Okafor team. And they were a pre-tournament favorite. They were number 1 seed. No one was surprised that they were the last team standing. And then they've won the 2 head scratchers. The 2011 title, where they just decided to stop losing once the Big East tournament started, and Kemba Walker went on a 4-week heater, essentially.
Best individual tournament run ever?
It's in the team photo.
Discussion.
If it's not best, it's damn close.
Yeah.
And then 2014, as a 7 seed, beating an 8 seed in the final in one of the most random NCAA tournament years that we'll ever see.
Coached by Kevin Ollie.
It's
like a Mad Lib of basketball.
Like any of those guys, like Shabazz Napier did not have much of an NBA career. Did they have was Jeremy Lamb on that team?
Yeah, I believe he was.
Or was that? I'm pulling up their roster right now. They had Ryan Boatwright.
Yeah,
was a pretty high pick. No, Lamb was on the 2011 team.
Oh, okay, my mistake.
Yeah.
Tyler Olander, who had more national championships in his career than Jim Boeheim. Yeah, that's kind of it though. Boatwright and Shabazz.
Ryan Boatwright never played an NBA game. Did any of these other guys play a single NBA game?
I don't remember most of these dudes. I do not remember.
Amita Bryma got 5 games with the Pacers in 2021.
Oh, yeah. Huh. Yeah, Amita Bryma.
Yeah, man. Like, that is a forgettable, like, that was the year that's the ultimate argument for just because they won the NCAA tournament doesn't mean they're the best team in the country.
Right. But at the same time, banners fly forever.
Yes.
You will always have, in fact, they've already got a new 2023 champs banner at their practice facility. Like, you are champions. Sure. It doesn't matter if you were the best team or not. Doesn't matter if you were coached by Kevin Ollie or not. You are the national champions.
So 5 titles in 5 chances really at it. 6 Final Fours, 5 title games, 5-0 in title games. They've been to 8 Elite Eights. They've
Pretty
been
good.
to, since 1999, since the year they won their first title. They've been to 8 Elite Eights, 9 Sweet 16s, 16 NCAA tournaments. They missed the tournament 7 times in the 23 years in which a tournament has been contested in the last 24 years. They've missed the tournament 7 times, including 5 times in 6 years. 13, 15, 17, 18, 19. So that's 5 times in 7 years, excuse me. They've won 5 regular season conference championships. None since 2006. They haven't won a Big East title since 2006, and they never won an American title. They've won 5 conference tournament championships, and none since 2016. But they have been serial winners in March in a way that no other program in this time frame can match. We talked about that yesterday. UConn's got 5 now. North Carolina's got 3 in that stretch. There's 2 for Florida. There's 2 for KU. There's 2 for Villanova. There's 3 for Duke. But that's it. So I was looking at Kansas in the same time frame, the same time period, 1999 to this year. Kansas has been to 23 of 23 NCAA tournaments. They've never missed it. They have been to the Sweet 16 14 times compared to 9 for UConn. They've been to 11 Elite Eights compared to 8 for UConn. They've been to the same number of Final Fours, and they've been to 3 national title games. They're 2-1 in national title games. And of course, they've won significantly more conference championships, both in the regular season and in the tournament. So my question is this: which program would have been more satisfying to root for over the last 24 years? Is it UConn, where the peaks are so high, but there are valleys of you're not even tournament worthy for a 7-year stretch? You missed the tournament 5 years. If that happened at Kansas, can you imagine the panic?
Nightmare, apocalyptic. Yeah.
Yet Kansas, deadly consistent, win their conference every year, more deep tournament runs than UConn, but they haven't finished the deal in March the way that UConn has.
My opinion, biased or not, would be I would rather be a fan of Program B, which in this situation is Kansas, because you're getting, yes, the ultimate in celebration and success is to win the national championship, but as a fan, January's means something too. Having fun throughout the month of February also means something.
Winning the conference means something.
It does, and it should. And that's not to take away from UConn. If you say, no, I'd rather have the team that wins once every 5 years, I'd say, yeah, that's totally fair.
It's like a really extreme version of the Florida Marlins, right?
Yeah.
Well,
more successful similar version.
Yeah, because the Florida Marlins have been to the playoffs 3 times in their entire franchise's history in 1993. Hell, the Rockies have been around for the same amount of time, and they've been to the playoffs more than that. But the Marlins, 3 playoff appearances. One of them was 2020.
Doesn't count.
Yeah, they got in the extended field. It doesn't count.
But they did win a series.
They did.
They beat the Cubs.
They beat the Cubs.
Yeah.
They won one of those goofy play-in series. 1997 made the playoffs. Didn't even win their division. They've never won a division championship.
Nope, not once.
But in 1997, they got in the playoffs and they won the World Series. And in 2003, they got in the playoffs and they won the World Series. They have achieved the ultimate prize. And since 1997, they've got more championships and a whole lot of other much more storied and much more successful major league franchises. So, is the ring the only thing? Because if it is, then yeah, you got to consider, man, UConn's been an unbelievable ride the last 24 years of basketball. But those fallow periods, those rings don't make those fallow periods feel any better.
No,
I'd rather root for the team that's good every year, that I know is going to the tournament every year. And let's be fair to UConn. They were a program that was getting to the tournament every year. And then they hired Kevin Ollie, who, championship aside, what a weird thing to say, wasn't real good at his job. And part of it also was they had a probationary period. They had a period where they went on NCAA probation, couldn't go to the tournament one year. And they had a period where they were in the American Athletic Conference. They were chasing football dollars, and that was at the expense, everybody involved would say, of their basketball program. And it hurt their basketball program. But that still happened. That 7-year period where they did not play in March for 5 of those years, that still happened. Yeah. So I would rather skip that. I'd rather be the team that, hey, our dance card is punched. I will take my chances, let the chips fall where they may in March, but at least I know I'm going to be there. And I'm going to be there with a damn good team year in, year out, a top 4 seed year in, year out. That's the Kansas experience. I'll sign up for that before I'll sign up for the UConn experience of, boy, we when we get there, we roll 7s for 3 weeks in March.
Mm-hmm.
But ain't no guarantee we're going to get there.
You know, I hear this a lot being a Packers fan. I hear this from Bears fans all the time that your team chokes all the time. Your team can't finish it. Yeah, but you know what is like, okay, one alternative is you lose all the time and never get a chance to choke at the end. I will take my favorite team's approach of still winning all the time and making months September through January really freaking fun and exciting over the alternative of never winning, or I'm sorry, winning one time all the way back in 1985. Like, I will take winning a lot in the regular season and some postseason success over having really deep valleys.
If the regular season didn't matter, they wouldn't put it on TV. We wouldn't buy tickets. We wouldn't have jobs.
No, I think I'm going to take the one where you win more often, even if you're not winning the ultimate prize more often. Because again, like, fun, exciting, meaningful February basketball is awesome. Like, there's pressure, there's rivalry, there's all of that. You want that. That's part of the fun of it. And KU's played more meaningful games in that time of the year than anybody. Like, they've won that many conference titles. They've won or gone to the tournament every single year. They've played, I think that's a fair argument. KU has played more meaningful February games than probably any other team in the country since Bill Self took over.
Yeah.
And look, is that damning with faint praise? Well, yeah, it's because you haven't gotten to the biggest game enough. Maybe, but that's still a lot of wins. And solely from a fan, I want to watch my team win perspective, I will take that every time.
Yeah.
The
higher overall win percentage. Yeah, there's satisfaction in that. Enjoyment in that.
Christopher jumps in and says, I don't think KU's even missed the tournament 2 years in a row since 82-83. Almost inevitable heartbreak year after year is what draws me to the team. Well, there's also an element of that. But yeah, like, this team hasn't missed the tournament since 1989. Like, the year after Danny and the Miracles. Then you had the Larry Brown situation, Roy Williams' first year. They've made the tournament every single year since. Like, I'm not trading that for a couple higher highs, but also several more years of this kind of sucks.
Yeah, like what am I supposed to do? Watch the men's NIT? Like,
the worst year for KU in recent memory was 2019 when they finished third in the league and got a 4 seed. Like, I will take that alternative.
Yeah.
One question here from Ross in the YouTube comments. Appreciate Ross jumping in. Would the math change for you if KU only had one championship? That's an interesting question. And I'm glad I do not have to worry about that in reality.
Yeah.
I'm glad I will always have those championship shirts and banners and newspapers hung up in my apartment.
Yeah. You'd rather have a championship, but yeah, it's a little easier to swallow when you have the two. The two feels a lot better.
Yeah, it does.
Like, as Travis Kelce says, it feels a lot better to win 2.
We've got to get to a break. We've got more 580 Sports Talk in the 4 o'clock hour up next. 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk going up on a Tuesday. I'm Brendan Dworzinski. That's Dan Lucero. We're here with you until 6 o'clock today. 2 more hours of 580 Sports Talk to go, and we've got a busy hour coming up here. We'll talk some Royals baseball in just a moment. They picked up their first win of the season last night, beating the Toronto Blue Jays with a big offensive day.
They Dolly Partoned them.
9-5.
What a way to make a living.
Working 9 to 5. Dolly Parton's great. One of the greatest living Americans. And I mean that entirely earnestly.
Absolute GOAT status for Dolly Parton.
Also this hour, we will get to our What Is Wrong With You, brought to you by Top City Metal Supply. And Michael Swain is going to join us from fog.net and 24/7 Sports for Jayhawk Weekly. A lot to get to on the KU front today. I'm not worried about the press conference that KU called for tomorrow, but a lot of people are. So we'll get to that. Also, a lot of transfer portal goings on to talk about. Lots going on in Jayhawk Weekly. So we'll talk to Michael Swain in just about half an hour. We're also taking your texts. 785-272-9429 is the text line number. And we are taking your comments on YouTube. The name of our YouTube channel is Sports on 580 WIBW. Dan, looks like you're getting some recipes sent your way.
Yeah. Vance has shared a recipe for something called crack chicken that looks outstanding.
Slow cooker crack chicken. That sounds good.
Yeah, it's basically like anything that has bacon and ranch in it is crack cooking. I think cream cheese is the other ingredient that that is included in those. But no, it looked like a winner. I'm definitely saving that one.
Are you a ranch fan? You like ranch?
Yeah, ranch is fine.
Did you see the post? It was going around on Twitter, but it was originally from Reddit yesterday and the day before about the couple on their third date at a restaurant and ranch dressing. Did you see this?
No, I did not.
Okay, so there was this post. Now, it's always hard to know if these are fake and people are just trying to rile people up online or if these are really real. Well, it was posted on a board called Am I the blank
jerk?
Hole? Yeah.
Am I the jerk?
Yeah, a word that begins with A. And the post is about this woman who went on a date with a guy. It was their third date, and they went to one of his favorite restaurants. It was a Hungarian restaurant. I've never had Hungarian.
I don't even know
before.
what Hungarian food would be.
Nor I. Well, I guess this woman loves ranch dressing and eats it with literally everything. So they get to the restaurant, they order, and she says, "Do you have ranch?" And they brought over, they're like, "No, we don't. We have our own sauces and dressings and whatnot." They brought over some authentic Hungarian dressings. She said, "No, I can't do this. I'll be back." Takes her keys and her wallet, leaves the restaurant, drives to a convenience store, buys a bottle of ranch. Comes back, puts it on her food. They have, they enjoy the rest of their meal. Waiter comes over and says, "No outside food." So she takes it back outside, leaves it in her car. They leave the restaurant, and he tells her it was very off-putting and rude of her to go out, buy ranch during their date, and then bring it to the restaurant. He didn't even walk her to her car. She then drives home and tells her roommate, and she's like, "I'm worried that he's not going to talk to me anymore." And she explains the story. And her roommate says, "Are you serious? That was incredibly rude. I would be surprised if he ever talked to you again." She said, "Am I the jerk for bringing ranch to this Hungarian restaurant?" And the entire internet said, "Yes, you are the jerk."
Like, what are you, 7 years old? Eat like an adult.
That's the line I used the other day when I said you shouldn't eat condiments on things.
Yeah, you were staunchly anti-condiment there for a moment.
Yeah, I told Fulton and Dan, and I think Britt, to eat things dry like an adult.
Yeah, we walked you back on that. We forced you to walk a little bit back on that. But no, you can't ranch on everything. Like, look, I enjoy sometimes ranch with like chicken tenders, perhaps.
Put it on a salad.
If you've got it with like carrots,
yeah,
absolutely. Perhaps with chicken wings every now and again, it can be a nice compliment depending on the flavor of chicken wing. French fries, even I'll allow that if they're seasoned in a certain way. Sometimes they go nicely with a little bit of ranch. If you put ranch on pizza, I'm calling the police. And if you're bringing like unfathomable to me that she's like, "No, I simply cannot eat," like that would make me think that I was not dating an adult. Like I would not call that woman again. No, I would think this is not an adult person with adult tastes.
I just can't imagine leaving the restaurant to go buy a dressing of any sort and then bringing it back.
Weird that she didn't have one on deck, right? Like,
yeah, you'd think you'd have
a couple of spare packets from McDonald's sitting in the glove.
Yeah, keep it in your purse. That actually is legitimately surprising. If you really had to have it with everything you ate, I figured you'd have some on you.
Yeah, if you're really about that ranch life to that extent.
Keep that thing on me. And that thing is
the
Newman's.
little Hidden Valley Ranch.
Oh, my gosh. If you are going to send any more recipes, I would encourage you to do so. Text line or the YouTube comments. Because
absolutely.
We will absolutely both use them. The Kansas City Royals, they were cooking up something offensively yesterday. 9 runs. They had 4 over the first 3 games of the year against the Twins. How about a 9 spot against the Blue Jays yesterday? Let's start with the good. The real bad is the bullpen. Not especially good yesterday. But the good was, after no offense to start the year, it was like opposite day. You had a ton of offense. You got the young guys hitting. It was good to see both Melendez and Witt make solid contact a couple of times, get a couple of hits. Melendez smoked a home run.
Yeah, he did. I knew we'd get a dinger last night. I just picked the wrong guy. But
first one of the year.
He nuked that ball. I know it was the longest home run of his career. I remember that on the telecast last night. Longest home run of his career, 443 feet, I think they said. I think they also said it was the hardest exit velocity of his career.
Wow.
So like the hardest hit and the longest hit ball of MJ Melendez's career. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's tremendous. 8 of the 9 batters ended up with at least 1 hit. A couple of guys had multiple. Really, the only guy who had a truly bad day was Nate Eaton. Someone's got to make outs, and he made 4 of them via the strikeout variety.
Yeah, got to put the ball in play, Nate.
Not the best day for him. But overall, I mean, how can you be upset about that? And then suddenly, you go from averaging 1.3 runs a game to now it would be 13 runs over 4 games over 4 runs a game. That's April baseball for you, right? Things change in a snap. Encouraging signs. And after we talked yesterday about how, well, they're hitting the ball hard, it's just not resulting in hits or runs. Well, they turned that around completely yesterday. Hard to be upset about that.
Yeah. I mean, not 10 hits and 4 of them for extra bases. And it was nice to see them get out to a good start because I think that even this early in the season, you can press a little bit. Like, it is not fun for those guys. Like, you've seen how big the Jumbotron is at Kauffman Stadium, right? That huge crown vision,
sizable
out in center field. And then you got they get the big board down the left field line of the Royals Hall of Fame, and you got some other scoreboards around the stadium. And when you got to go up to the plate and look at all of those big giant video screens, and you see your name and a batting average next to it that starts with a 1 or a 0, that sucks. That's hard. That, like, psychologically, that has an impact. And it is not too early, 4 games into the season, to think that maybe guys that start to press a little bit and think, I got to get off the schneid. I got to get my first hit. I got to get my first RBI. I got to get my first dinger. We got to get our first win. And the deeper you get into a game where you haven't scored, you maybe do start to press a little bit. So I thought it was valuable for the Royals to get off to the start that they did, get those 3 runs in the first. It was bang, bang, bang right off the bat. Melendez doubled, I think, to start the game. Pulling up the play-by-play now. Yeah. Melendez double, Witt singled him home, Isbell single home Witt, and then Dozier scored Massey on an RBI ground out. And to score 3 runs on 4 hits just like that right off the bat, you could kind of feel the sigh of relief on the Royals side. It felt like, all right, we're okay. We can swing the bats. Let's just go out. We've staked our pitcher to an early lead. It just, they felt a lot more relaxed. They felt a lot looser. And that's important, even this early in the season. It's never too early, even 4 games in, to start to see guys maybe feel the weight of a slow start, particularly when you have a history of slow starts becoming slow mediums, middles, and slow finishes like the Royals have the last half decade.
I mean, this entire season is just about positive signs, right? I'm just
steps forward
in a general sense, because nobody expects this team to be especially competitive in terms of the division or even making the playoffs, wild card, whatever. But can you see, yes, the guy we expect Bob Witt to be, looks like he is becoming. Same for Melendez, same for Pasquantino. Maybe we can bring some guys up. Maybe you get, some real positive returns from a Massey or an Eaton or someone like that. Brady Singer continues to do Brady Singer things, which we'll get to in a second here. That's what this year I feel like is generally about, even if the Royals aren't going to come out and say that. If Dayton Moore was still in charge, he would tell you, no, we plan to make the playoffs this year. We plan to contend this year. That's what he would tell you. I'm not quite feeling that exact same way, but this was one of those games where you feel like, okay, these are where you get the positive signs, the hopeful things we are expecting to see, wanting to see this year. They kind of came to fruition. Jose Barrios, not very good. struggling. Not especially good. On the other side, Brady Singer, again, same complaint I've had through a couple of games now. I would just like to see these guys go further into games. Start of the season, they're stretching him out. As you mentioned, don't expect him to go too far because he didn't see a whole lot of action at the WBC. Fair enough. 5 innings, gives up 1 run. Walked too many guys. 3 walks in 5 innings isn't especially good. Only threw, I think it was 59% of his pitches for strikes. Now, that's a misleading stat. It's a little overly simplistic because sometimes you intentionally are not throwing strikes. You're getting guys to chase. I understand it. You want to throw a few more strikes than he threw, though. Overall, hard to complain too much about getting that from his first outing of the year, especially against a pretty talented team.
And really, it almost felt like his last spring training outing. Like he's an outing behind where the rest of these guys are right now, to be completely honest. And I thought he acquitted himself very well. I think if there was anything that was really encouraging, it was, so he's got a 7-0 lead and he loads up the bases in the 5th. And maybe fatigue is starting to become a factor at that point, but he walks Brandon Belt on 4 pitches, which, by the way, did you know Brandon Belt was a Toronto Blue Jay? I had forgotten.
No, I did not remember that at all.
It is desperately sad to see Brandon Belt wearing that uniform.
Yeah.
That's a player who's had a nice career. And we're not going to, I don't think, be remembering his Toronto Blue Jay days.
I doubt it.
With a lot of fondness. Anyway, so he walks Belt on 4 pitches and Chapman rips the double. And he walks Biggio on a 3-2. And then there's a mound visit. And how often have we made the joke about Cal Eldred making a mound visit and then the very next batter like scalds a 2-run double or hits a home run or walks or gets hit by a pitch? Like Cal Eldred was like the had the opposite effect of what you would want a coach to have when making a mound visit. Bryce, when he made the mound visit, goes back to the dugout, Brady Singer gets a double play ground ball and then another ground ball and he's out of the inning. And instead of that inning snowballing on him, and all of a sudden it's 7-3 with a lot of game left, 7-1. And you feel like the game's in your back pocket still. So that was important. And that's part of the growth. That sometimes, no matter where you're at in the rotation, no matter how far along you are in your big league career, you're not going to have your A+ stuff. And I don't think I think Brady would probably be the first to say he probably didn't have A+ stuff last night. But you got to find a way to get outs. You got to find a way to get as deep into a game as you can and lighten the load on your bullpen as much as you can. And that's what Brady did in his first start of the season. You take that. Yeah.
I mean, you need consistency out of this pitching staff. You need consistency out of him. And that's a good start. My expectations are not especially high, especially early in the year. So I'm content with that. Throw a few more strikes, but otherwise I think the fact that you were able to get out of that 5 innings, only allow 1 run, those are the numbers that matter the most. Now, the underlying numbers, of course, indicate actual performance, but hey, on a game-to-game basis, you'll take that. Bullpen worry. 2 good games. Games 1 and 2, very strong. Games 3 and 4, not so much.
Yeah, Ryan Yarbrough kind of got singled to death, which is the kind of thing that you worry about happening for a guy that doesn't have particularly good stuff. Gave up 5 hits. They were all singles. They strung together a little bit of a rally on him. Dylan Coleman continues to struggle with his command. 24 pitches, only half of them for strikes.
Sky's still blue, huh?
Yeah. Like the stuff's electric with Coleman. You see it. You can tell why he's going to continue to get opportunities. And again, it's not the worst thing in the world. You can be a reliever and get by walking 4.5 guys per 9, because if you can back that with you're striking out 10, 11 guys per 9, it's when you start walking like 6, 7 guys per 9 that you might run into a problem. And Coleman's kind of dangerously teetering in that direction. And then Taylor Clark gave up the dinger, but I'm not too fussed about that. He gave it up to a good hitter, Bichette. Yeah. And you got a 5-run lead in the 9th. Go throw strikes. That's a good role for Taylor Clark because that's what he does. He fills the strike zone. The other hit he gave up was a chintzy infield hit. Not too fussed about that. But no, those aren't other than Coleman. And again, I think that is a legit concern. Is he ever going to find the control that he needs to really be a weapon instead of just a guy that is tantalizing, but is also not somebody you can trust with a 1-run lead because you can walk the leadoff guy every time. Other than that, yeah, I'm not too fussed about. Like, I think that's kind of going to be Yarbrough's role. He's going to soak up some innings in the mid innings. You put him in when you're well ahead or well behind like that. If that's his role, that's fine. As long as he keeps the ball in the ballpark, I'm not going to worry too much about Ryan Yarbrough giving up five singles against a good lineup with a 8-run lead in game 4 of the season.
Nice to see Jose Cuas have a nice little bounce back appearance. Not that he was necessarily bad last time out.
Yeah,
but
you don't want to walk in a run. That's tough. But you'd rather do that, I think, with Vladimir Guerrero in a 9-2 game than let him make it 9-5 or 9-6.
Yes.
Which is the kind of thing he can do in a heartbeat. And then he got ahead of Varsho, got him to pop out, and Kirk hit the ball in the nose, but Isbell ran it down. So, yeah, that was good. That was a big moment in the game, and he's able to strand 2 of those runners. And, again, keep it from, again, it's 9-2 when he comes in. If it's 9-5 when he hands the ball to Matt Quatrero, you're sweating those last 2 innings in a way that you didn't want to. Instead, you could kind of cruise, and that's what they did.
By the way, I totally glossed over this, so I apologize. I wanted to backtrack to the offense for a little bit. Do you remember what the Royals were through the first 3 games with runners in scoring position?
1 for 20, you told me.
1 for 20. They went 6 for 16 yesterday.
That's a little thing called regression to the mean.
Yes, which is not always a negative. I think people associate the word regression with always a negative, going backwards in that way. No, it's just water finding its level, so to speak. 6 for 16 is pretty good. I cannot tell you the last time the Royals hit that well with runners in scoring position. I'm going back
been a minute
years now. I spent a lot of years as the voice of sports updates on the Kansas Information Network, doing updates on games and reading box scores and whatnot. Not a lot of games with 6 of 16 with runners in scoring position.
So here's what's fascinating about tonight's lineup, and we'll flesh this out maybe a little bit later on in the 5 o'clock hour. But you look at tonight's lineup. Bobby Witt Jr. is leading off. MJ Melendez, not in the lineup. 2 hits and a dinger, not in the lineup tonight. And Vinny Pasquantino had a hit last night. RBI double, not in the lineup tonight. And normally you would say you got to get these kids some at-bats. But similar to last night where Salvador Perez didn't play because he hasn't hit Jose Barrios well historically, the kid lefties aren't in the lineup tonight because Kikuchi's tough on young left-handed hitters. And so it's a chance to, get them out of lineup, get some other guys some early season playing time. But it's just, you didn't see this kind of lineup fluctuation under the previous 2 Royals managers. They had their guys and they wrote them in the lineup every day, and they didn't give much thought to the matchup, and they didn't give much thought to, data available. They just, we're going to play our guys. And I think there's an argument for playing your guys when your guy is Vinny Pasquantino and he might be your best hitter. But at the same time, you're using the information you have to make a data-driven decision instead of a gut-driven decision. And I think that's a positive.
I do appreciate that. That was a major talking point when Dayton Moore got fired, even before they hired Matt Quatrero. And we talked about how they used the phrase data-driven. And that was a very clear message from J.J. Piccolo, but especially from John Sherman when they made those front office changes. And I respect that. The one thing I will say is I hope this is specifically an early season thing. Because if you're saying, hey, we want to make sure we get Olivares in there, we want to mix it up a little bit, move the order around, figure out some things, get guys some early playing time.
Yeah, Olivares is in the 2-hole tonight. Matt Duffy's hitting 5th. So they've loaded it up with right-handers against the left-hander Kikuchi. And, Kikuchi's not real good. So on the one hand, you would think, yeah, let's send all of our best guys against this left-hander because he's not anything special. And he's got a career ERA over 5 in 4 years.
Yeah.
But he has historically, and I'm pulling up the splits right now, but historically, I believe he's had a lot more success against left-handed hitters. He's held them to a 210 batting average compared to 276 against right-handers. So when the disparity is that wide, get your righties in the lineup.
No, I agree. I 100% agree. I was just going to say the one thing, and it is a major pet peeve of mine, and the Royals did this. I've seen the Cubs do this many times. Too many teams do this. Oh, well, our young guys don't hit lefties well, so they're just never going to play against left-handed hitters or left-handed pitchers. I hate that. I hate it.
And I do too. And that will bear watching because we're still only 5 games into the managerial tenure of Matt Quatrero.
Right.
But I think this is less about Pasquantino and Melendez than it is about, hey, look, this guy carves lefties. So we're going to play as few lefties. Now, they're Nicky Lopez and Jackie Bradley Jr. in the lineup tonight. But they're going to provide you some plus defensive value that might mitigate the fact that they're going to have a problem. And they're batting low enough in the order, they may not see Kikuchi more than once or twice.
That's true. Nicky, by the way, had a SportsCenter top 10 play last night.
Yeah, he did.
That diving stop at shortstop.
The guy could pick. I just wish he'd hit better than 220,
Can we talk about the Pasquatch?
Yes.
So, Vinny Pasquantino, one of his apparently many nicknames, the Pasquatch, or just Pasquatch. The Royals are now doing a thing. This was archived on Twitter by multiple people, including, I believe, Andy Rogers. I know Jesse Newell for sure. When Vinny Pasquantino gets on base, someone in a Sasquatch costume is now walking on the roof of the Royals Hall of Fame. Just walked across the numbers that are up on the wall there. That's awesome. That is phenomenal, and I love it.
I'm just glad we finally have some closure on what happened to the Kansas City W guy, the dude in the old-timey baseball uniform and the mustache used to put up the W on the star in the Royals Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
We now have closure. The Pasquatch ate him, and that's what happened to him, and that's why we don't see the W guy anymore.
What if he became the Pasquatch? He's been wandering through the wilderness with some of these Royals teams.
We know he can grow some facial hair.
That's true. It's certainly possible. It might be the same guy.
Interesting wrinkle.
I like that, though. Like, that's fun. That's exciting and fun. And, oh, look, a cool thing that happens. Nothing about the Royals for the last 5 years has been cool or fun. So adding that, definitely a positive. We're going to get to a break here on 580 Sports Talk. We'll look ahead to Game 2 between the Royals and Blue Jays coming up later on. Right now, we're going to get to some What Is Wrong With You, and then Michael Swain will join us later this hour for Jayhawk Weekly here on 580 Sports Talk.
What the hell?
Let's get to today's What Is Wrong With You on 580 Sports Talk. Our winners from yesterday's show. The guys who were so mad they didn't get their extra cheese at Chipotle, they pulled out their guns and trashed the place.
Yeah, got violent with the burrito artists. They call them sandwich artists at Subway. They should call them burrito artists at Chipotle.
Burritos? That's one too many syllables.
That needs some work.
Decent idea, needs to be workshopped. By the way, all of our stories on What Is Wrong With You are brought to you by Top City Metal Supply, who cuts the metal you need to your specifications, saving time, money, and material. Never settle when it comes to your metal. That's Top City Metal Supply on South Topeka Boulevard, halfway between Frito-Lay and Forbes Field. Dan, you're up first today.
All right, we're going to Brevard County, Florida. We meet 39-year-old dead ringer for Lil Wayne, Travis Jordan. And he is accused of pulling an 18-inch machete at a bar after being denied another karaoke song. Jordan faces a breach of peace due to disorderly conduct charges in connection with the incident which occurred at Kennedy's Lamppost Tavern in Cape Canaveral. Deputies reported to the bar shortly before 2 p.m. on Sunday and found Jordan unsteady on his feet with bloodshot and glassy eyes, smelling strongly of alcohol. Deputies spoke with a person who said Jordan pulled out the machete, which was concealed on his body, after someone denied his request to sing another karaoke song. The woman, afraid for the safety of others, coaxed the suspect into peacefully handing over the machete. According to the affidavit, a member of the bar staff then hid the weapon and called law enforcement as, quote, everyone started freaking out. Jordan, who admitted to wielding the weapon, told deputies he was threatened days prior and had to stay alert to protect himself, but he had not been in danger the night he pulled the machete out.
I demand to sing Sweet Caroline to this bar. And if you don't let me pull out my 18-inch machete.
18-inch machete.
Is that the lamest thing you could ever pull out to try to threaten someone? Like, obviously scary, but it's not like, oh man, a gun. Ooh, that's like a little knife. No, like he's going to go through the jungle here.
Nah.
He's Indiana Jones.
Be like the lamest thing would be like one of those plastic lightsabers.
I guess I was thinking of like a legit weapon, but
that's
like
fair. A legit weapon?
That's
yeah, probably like a, yeah.
Let me unsheath this.
Like a paring knife.
Where do you get an 18-inch machete? I guess he's weapons guy.
The 18-inch machete show. Store, obviously. It's 2 p.m. on a Sunday. Is there really a line for karaoke at 2 p.m. on a Sunday? Just let the dude have another song.
Yeah, for real.
He probably did, like I said, he looks a lot like Lil Wayne. He probably did Lollipop. Let him do Mr. Carter.
Like,
let him do Fireman.
I can wait to, sing It's Raining Men. Like, fine, go ahead. Jump up there. You got it. You take care of this.
Let him do Famous Blue Raincoat by Leonard Cohen.
Man,
shout out to Succession.
That's incredible. What a story. Mine is going to take us to Sterling, Virginia, where we meet 21-year-old Tanner Cook, who is still in intensive care with his mother by his side after a bullet pierced through his stomach and liver when he was shot at the Dulles Town Center Mall. That sounds obviously awful. Well, why did this happen? Officials arrested and charged a gentleman by the name of Alan Colley, a 31-year-old, on Sunday with aggravated malicious wounding, use of a firearm in the commission of a felony, and discharging a firearm in a building. Sheriff Mike Chapman said the shooting was a result of a fight that broke out in the food court between both men, and the gunfire caused panic among mall-goers.
I bet it did.
Man, something horrible must have happened here. A video recorded by Instagram user This Is My Username, that's literally his account, captured Colley being arrested on the ground. So what happened here? What led to this shooting? Well, Cook, the victim here, spoke exclusively to WUSA 9 TV in Virginia from his hospital bed. He happens to be the content creator for a YouTube page called Classified Goons.
Oh, boy.
And their whole thing is doing pranks in public.
Oh, boy.
So, 21-year-old Tanner Cook decided to play a prank on 31-year-old Alan Colley. And he said, quote, I was playing a prank, a simple practical joke, and this guy didn't take it very well. His friend was recording the video when Colley allegedly pulled out his gun. The family said the footage is now part of evidence. Cook said he didn't even say anything to me. Despite what led up to the gunfire, Cook's father said the shooting was shocking and unnecessary. His dad, Jeremy, says, quote, they were making a video at the mall and trying to have fun with people, and this guy wasn't having fun. There was a phone that was around him, and they were interviewing or talking to him, and he didn't like it, and he pulled out his gun and shot my son.
Look, I don't want to get into the debate about whether or not you need to be able to have your gun at the mall. I don't think you need to probably take your gun to the mall. You probably leave your gun at home when you go to the mall.
By the way, that's literally a Weird Al lyric in the song Canadian Idiot about how they don't bring guns to the mall. Literally a Weird Al lyric.
I'm staying out of that debate and discussion here to say this. I don't want you to do a prank on me without my permission. And if you do a prank on somebody without your permission, sometimes that person is not going to like it. And sometimes that person is going to have something for you. And unfortunately, in this case, what this Colley guy had for this young man was some hot lead. And that, young man, is the risk that you run. When you are playing pranks on people. Don't play pranks on me. I'm at the mall, man. I'm trying to go to Hot Topic and Lids, and those are the only stores at the mall anymore.
Maybe a Mrs. Fields.
Yeah, maybe get an Auntie on soft pretzel. Leave me alone. Do not play a prank on me in public.
Man, I'd eat pretzel bites any day.
I don't even want my
week.
friends to prank me. Some twerp comes up trying to pull a prank on me for his YouTube page. I'm duffing him out. But no, we talk with our hands, not with our guns. Come on, be better.
Who are you giving the win to today?
2 great stories.
Yeah, this is a good day.
One guy pulled a machete over karaoke.
He wasn't allowed to sing 9 to 5, and he pulled out his machete.
Vance suggested it might have been Mac the Knife he was trying to sing.
Ha! That's a good one. Very well done. I'm with you on that one. Does that beat the Chipotle dust up?
I'm going to say yes.
Yeah. You got drunk at 2:00 on a Sunday at a karaoke bar, dude. You need to reevaluate some things.
Trying to do Copperhead Road, man.
Oh, it probably was. Florida.
I've never in my life been to a karaoke at night where Copperhead Road was not sung.
That is our new winner for What Is Wrong With You, brought to you by Top City Metal Supply. Metal cut to order when you need it. That's Top City Metal Supply on South Topeka Boulevard, halfway between Frito-Lay and Forbes Field. Michael Swain joins us next on 580 Sports Talk.
If you
scene in Lawrence, Kansas tonight.
Bottom of the 4:00 hour on a Tuesday afternoon, and that means it's time for Jayhawk Weekly here on 580 Sports Talk, along with our good friend Michael Swain from Fog.net. It's part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Head on over to Fog.net for all the best coverage of all things KU. And if you're not a VIP member right now, by the way, and you're a KU fan, you are absolutely missing out, because I have been on the website darn near every single day, many times a day, following all the rumors, all the reports, all the words about what visits are going on in the transfer portal. You can also find Michael on Twitter at mswain247. Just a pretty typical lazy kind of off-season week for KU, huh?
Yeah, right. Talk about, no off season, right? It really seems like this is one of those off seasons for KU that's going to be pretty jam-packed until the guys get back on campus after the semester ends later in June. So it's been a pretty busy start to transfer portal season. I have a feeling it's going to keep picking up steam.
Let's start with what's going on this week, Michael. And it's Bill Self talking to the media coming up tomorrow. Then, of course, KU's got its end-of-season banquet coming up on Thursday night, I believe it is. And this is the first time we've heard from Bill Self since he did those kind of sheltered interviews with Greg Gurley during the first weekend of the NCAA tournament, but it's the first time we've seen him publicly in a long time. A lot of people have been really worked up about this. I was never at a point where I was, nervous, I guess, but I think this is just going to be pretty run of the mill. Is that what you're expecting this to be coming up tomorrow?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's going to be, here's the thing. Usually Bill Self talks after the banquet, and that's kind of the end of year media availability, for lack of a better term, because Kansas, after they lose, they don't have Bill Self talk the next week. Usually, the only times they've done media availabilities after a season is when they've won the title. So usually it's in a scrum after the banquet, and I don't think Kansas wants that to be the first time Bill Self talks. When you got TV cameras, people like myself putting recorders in their face, and that's not really a great setting. So it's going to be basically what you talk about after the banquet, which is, hey, guys are making decisions to do what they want. What are your comments on that? What do you think about the offseason? What's next? So I think it's kind of going to be one of those where you cover a lot of the baseline topics that are covered in a media scrum like that, but they just want the situation to be a little more calm, right? So if he's sitting down, I assume, some space, a probably better environment for him, just considering everything that's happened.
And two, I mean, this has popped up from people who are being just nervous Nellies on Twitter or whatever. People are very emotionally attached to the basketball program at KU and don't want bad things to happen to it or happen to a coach they've invested a lot of emotional energy in. So I understand that. But I feel like, just thinking logically here, Michael, we've heard so many reports and seen tweets from the Rothsteins of the world or Andrew Slaters or whoever about how guys are taking visits or they're getting interest from Kansas in the transfer portal, et cetera, et cetera. I sort of feel like if there was some real worry here for KU and Bill Self's future, we wouldn't be hearing nearly as much about that when it comes to these portal guys.
Yeah, exactly. And you think about it, as soon as that press conference was announced, if it was a retirement press conference, I have a pretty good idea that people in the national, side of the media would probably be putting out there that, hey, like, this is going to be a retirement press conference. Well, there's not been anything like that, right? And I think you even saw the kind of head SID for KU, Daniel Burt, come out and tweet that, hey, this is going to be run of the mill. So I think it's understandable, right? You see a vague tweet about, hey, Bill Self's having a press conference, and yeah, sure. I think people and fans are going to worry just because there's not a lot of context. But I think, if you listen to what someone like Daniel Burke says, and I think what people like myself have heard and are saying, it's just going to be standard. And it's understandable that fans feel that way, especially considering the fact that, KU is being vague. And I think they have every right to be right. It's someone's health. This isn't an injury update on someone's hamstring, right? This is someone's legitimate, health. So I understand being vague, and I also understand the way KU's tried to handle this.
Our guest is Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. He joins us on Tuesdays here on 580 Sports Talk for a little thing we like to call Jayhawk Weekly, talking all things KU. Michael Swain can be found on Twitter at mswain247. So if the primary objective for Bill Self to call a press conference, or the primary source of questions for him, is going to be regarding his health, what is topic B? What is the secondary point of interest as we get to hear from Bill Self for the first time since before the Big 12 tournament? What is the primary topic of interest, topic of discussion? Is it the portal? Is it the high school class? Is it losing players to the portal? What is maybe the highest point of curiosity right now?
Well, I think it's probably going to be the outgoing players because, Bill Self's going to be very vague talking about the targets that Kansas has, right? Because you got to be very careful with a lot of these rules with the portal and what you can and can't talk about. And so I don't think Bill Self's going to talk a lot about specific players KU's going after. I think, Brendan had a great plug there at the beginning. You can check out the VIP board of Fog.net for info on that. But I think it's going to be about, hey, MJ Rice transferred. Like, why? What was that conversation like with him? You had really good comments about Bobby Pettiford coming from Bill Self when he first arrived on campus. Now he's transferring. What went wrong? I think it's going to be a lot of those types of questions of, hey, you've got guys entering the portal. Can we get maybe your perspective on it? We don't really hear much from those players, right, unless they go to a new transfer destination and want to talk about it. So just getting Self's perspective on it, where the roster's at, the number of spots, and I wonder if maybe we'll get some confirmation that KU's going to have 12 scholarships for the next season as is expected right now.
If we consider the transfer portal to be like a department store, what aisle or what section is Bill Self and this Kansas staff going to shop in first? Are they looking for wings? Are they looking for guards? scorers, shooters. They've got some needs to fill, obviously, with only 4 players currently on the roster. But what do you think is the most pressing need that they feel like they can best meet through the portal?
Yeah, well, I think probably scoring, right? You look at what you lose in terms of Jalen Wilson averaging 20 points per game, Grady Dick being the second leading scorer on the team. And yeah, sure, you can expect DeJuan Harris to take another step forward, but that step forward is not going to be going from, whatever 9 points he averaged to 12, 13. It's not going to, you're talking about 4 more points a game from him. So it'll be a different question for him, what exactly does that scoring profile look like? Is it going to be a wing in the mold of someone like Jalen Wilson? Is it going to be another scoring guard like Nick Timberlake, who's going to be on campus, who's maybe more of a, I'm not going to say Isaiah Moss because I don't want to limit what he can do, but a guy that's really known for his shooting. And I'm fascinated to see the types of players they go after. Are they going to be kind of more of the foreman that can shoot, or is it foreman that can really guard and rebound and maybe make up for the scoring in other ways on the floor? So I think it's going to be a lot of kind of big guards, wings, and then some guys who can score in there. So I'm fascinated to see kind of how it ends up, because there's just a lot of guys that Cave's kind of rumored with, and you kind of got to narrow down who they're really going after.
Michael Swain is our guest, Kansas Jayhawks beat writer for 24/7 Sports and Fog.net. Head on over to Fog to check out all of Michael's and company's great coverage of KU. And if you're not a VIP, make sure you're checking it out. Tons of great articles, tons of great content, and of course the VIP boards, really the epicenter for all the important, juicy stuff regarding KU in the transfer portal. You can also find Michael on Twitter at mswain247. Michael, what kind of players are still waiting to go into the portal this year? We've heard some bigger names that have come out, a couple just yesterday. In fact, you look at LJ Cryer from Baylor, Max Asmus from Oral Roberts. Those are bigger names in terms of just general college basketball knowledge. But do you feel like there's still a wave of players, big name or otherwise, who are still waiting to enter the portal for some reason?
I do. And I think you have to think about this from the NBA perspective. Portal, and there are some guys out there, TJ Bamba from Washington State, the guard that is doing that, where he's got his name in the draft, but he's also got his name in the portal. So he's going to go through the draft process and see how that goes. And if the feedback isn't great, if they say, hey, go back to school, great, he'll go back to school and transfer to a new institution. So I think it's more players like that who are now weighing like, okay, am I going to enter the NBA draft? Yes or no? If it's yes, okay, am I going to keep my options open at the school I'm at? Am I going to look for a different opportunity to maybe change the scenery to accomplish what those NBA scouts might want to see from me? I think those are the types of players you're going to see into the transfer portal now over the next few weeks, really up until kind of that April, I believe it's April 23rd deadline for underclassmen to declare. So I still think there's some good players that are going to go in the portal, right? Hunter Dickinson is one that went in pretty recently. I don't know if many people thought he'd go in when the season ended. And so, LJ Cryer is probably under that mold too. So I just still think there are going to be some good players that enter the portal, and really interested to see kind of what schools they're coming from. Is it the top tier schools like a Carolina, a Duke, or is it going to be kind of those mid-tier schools the guys are going to look to take a step up? So I still think there's plenty of good players that are going to go in.
Michael, I'm curious what you've heard about this next question from talking to coaches or talking to, prep AAU coaches or incoming athletes or whatever. How difficult is it to add depth through the transfer portal? Because I think that's one thing, at least to me, that KU could use is some scoring depth off the bench. A guy who can step in and, hey, we need you to play 15 minutes. You're going to stand in the corner. You're going to shoot threes. Like, that would have been extremely helpful. You mentioned the name Isaiah Moss earlier. That would have been a very useful kind of player, I think, to KU this season. But when you've got guys who are at the low to mid-major level and they want to take that step up, they want to improve maybe NBA draft stock or just play for a bigger program, or guys moving from one high major to another, how hard is it to sell guys that, hey, you're important, but you might not be finding starting minutes here?
Yeah, and I think that's kind of when you got to get into the background checks, right? Seeing what guys are like. Graham Ike, I believe I'm saying his name right, from Wyoming, is really interesting. In an interview he did with the network, he talked about, hey, I want to get back to the NCAA tournament. I want to win. Well, someone like him, is he going to be the 30 minutes a game starting center, getting a bunch of post-ups and touches in the Big 12? I don't know, but could he be a guy that's a 20-minute per game, going to give you some good minutes, going to get some touches, and really do kind of the extra work that can make a team win? I look at a guy like that and say, that's where you got to do your research and figure out what that player is looking for. Because I think there are plenty of players out there that have a realistic expectation for themselves and maybe know, hey, I'll use Nick Timberlake as an example. I'm leaving Towson and I've got a year left, maybe 2. and I want to go win, and I want to experience college basketball at the highest level. I don't care if I'm getting 15, 20 shots a game. I want to go win. I want to go experience what real college basketball at the highest level is all about. I think there are players that are going to be out there that are like that, but you got to figure out who they are so that you're not, barking up the wrong tree, for lack of a better term, and getting someone that maybe wants to be the guy. And then they get to KU and they realize, hey, DeJuan Harris is pretty good and he's pretty proven. KJ Adams has proven what he can do. And so I think it's all about the background checks. I think that's when prior relationships, I think that's when the ability for these coaches to be on the road for so long, right? Bill Self and these coaches have been around a long time. They know a lot of people. So I think that's really where this comes into play.
One final basketball question I've got for you, Michael, and I actually want to backtrack a little bit here to talking about the guys who are departing from the program, and it's pretty well known at this point. Cam Martin actually already has his new school. He committed to Boise State on Tuesday earlier today. But you have him, MJ Rice, who you mentioned earlier, Joe Yesufu, Bobby Pettiford, Zach Clemens. I keep seeing the phrase mass exodus used sometimes on Twitter. I was an idiot and decided to go look at some Facebook comments on Monday night. That was dumb. I saw that phrase all over the place there. And I understand that it, to some, might be a bad look, like, wow, you lost nearly half your roster to the transfer portal. But by the same time, like, this isn't a huge deal, right? As opposed to depth. Like, yeah, theoretically, Bobby Pettiford might have been a nice piece, but he's been hurt and barely been on the floor for 2 years. I really wished Joe Yesufu had worked out, and in theory, that athleticism would be great, but he was one of the most frustrating players in recent KU memory. Like, I think some fans just look at the raw numbers without looking at the context and are maybe more worried about this than they should be.
Exactly, right. And, we could go down the list, right, and give you a reason why it didn't work out for each one of these players. And that's why, I think the transfer portal sometimes gets a bad rap, because you look at guys like Zach Clemens, Bobby Pettiford, some of the guys that have transferred that have eligibility left. If the transfer portal wasn't around, then going to a new place would be pretty challenging. And then all of a sudden you blink and your 4-year college career is over. And many of these players don't have professional futures. So why should they have to stay at a place where they're not guaranteed to play, where there's going to be some challenges, and go find a new spot? If Bobby Pettiford goes to some place in the ACC and is able to build a role and get better, I think that could be really good for him. And then you're looking at a guy that got to play college basketball, right? Get experience, to get the education, finish it, and still have that love for basketball that maybe can go away when you're sitting on the bench for a few years. So I think you look at each situation, right, and you can make a pretty good argument why it didn't work out for them at Kansas and why they're transferring. And for a school like Kansas that has kind of the high expectations, right? How many times we hear kind of faces change, expectations don't? Well, what part of the roster this year didn't meet expectations? It was the bench. And so you got to change the faces. And so I think that's kind of what's happening here. And it's just kind of I think natural for what you're seeing now in college basketball.
One final thing for you, Michael, before we let you go, and appreciate the phenomenal insight as always. Coming up on Friday, it is the spring showcase for KU football. Number one thing you're going to be looking for on Friday over at the booth?
Yeah, I think there's some depth guys, that you want to see. I think fans should go in with not expecting to see too much. I don't think Jalen Daniels and guys like that are going to be getting a ton of snaps and a ton of reps. I think they'll do some stuff, but I wouldn't be expecting to see a lot of your star players doing a lot. So for me, it's some of the reserves, right? What does J.B. Brown look like incoming linebacker from Bowling Green? What do some of these new transfers just kind of look like when you put them on the field and you get to see them for a longer stretch? So I think it's probably that's it for me, because there's so many guys that are returning that I think KU's going to try and limit their reps. They're not going to show a lot. So it's really just, hey, off the hoof, what does this team look like? More physical than last year? If you show up to practice, I think they do look more like that. But when you get them out there, full pads, more for an extended period, what does that look like? So I'm really interested.
Michael Swain covers the Kansas Jayhawks better than absolutely anybody, and he does so over at fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Go become a VIP if you're not already. It is absolutely worth the price. You can find Michael as well on Twitter at mswain247, and he joins us for Jayhawk Weekly every Tuesday here on the show. Michael, we appreciate the time, man. Thank you so much. We will talk to you next week.
Awesome. Sounds great, guys. Talk to you then.
That's Michael Swain from fog.net joining us here on 580 Sports Talk today. Whole lot going on with KU. For a team that had its season end multiple weeks ago at this point, this offseason's only getting juicier. We're going to have audio, by the way, from Bill Self's press conference tomorrow. I will be there at Allen Fieldhouse, wherever they're holding it. I will be there for that, so we'll get to hear from Bill Self coming up on tomorrow's show. Right now, we need to take a break for the national and local news. We've got headlines, some Royals talk, and more, all coming up in the 5 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk. 1 hour to go on this Tuesday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Brendan Dworzinski and Dan Lucero joining you up until 6 o'clock tonight, when pregame coverage will begin for Royals baseball on the Royals Radio Network, right here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW. So thank you so much for spending your mid and late afternoon hours with us leading up to Royals baseball tonight. We'll preview that game coming up later on in the hour as the Royals go for 2 in a row against the Toronto Blue Jays. We're taking your texts throughout this final hour of the show. 785-272-9429 is the text line number. Also, if you'd like to hop into the comment section on YouTube, you are welcome to do so. The name of our channel is Sports on 580 WIBW. Go subscribe if you haven't already. It is free to do so. All you have to do is subscribe, to be logged in. YouTube account, Google account, it's all the same. Just click on the subscribe button on our channel. Boom, there you go. All of the videos we do, all of our live streams, it'll all be right there on your YouTube home feed. So go and subscribe right now. It's free. Sports on 580 WIBW on YouTube. We'll get to our 580 Sports Talk headlines here in just a moment. As I said, we will preview Royals versus Blue Jays tonight. Also, Travis Kelce is getting into a new industry. He's a festival promoter now. We'll explain what we mean and who you might be able to go see over at Azure Amphitheater. Is that what it is now in Bonner Springs, KCK? Yeah, we'll talk about that later on this hour. I heard there was going to be Travis Kelce news today. I am very surprised that's what it is. I was not expecting the turn that Travis Kelce announced earlier today. So that's all coming up here in this 5 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk. With that, let's jump right into the rest of our headlines, our 580 Sports Talk headlines for this Tuesday, April 4th. First one for me, let's go to the college sports world. How about this? This is just a rumor for now. It is not a full-on report. However, from John Wilner of the Pac-12 Hotline, a lot of West Coast newspapers publish his columns. He's been all over the Pac-12 will they, won't they thing for a while. According to John Wilner, though, San Diego State may have lost the national championship, but may have gained a little bit more prestige recently. Wilner says, quote, a formal invitation for Pac-12 membership seemingly will be delivered to SDSU President Adela De La Torre in a matter of days or weeks. That is the closest thing to something is actually going to happen we have gotten in a long time.
Yeah, we've been in stasis for a while. It's been a lot of talk and a lot of speculation and a lot of the Pac-12's media deal is close and then it doesn't get done, and that leads to idle speculation. But this would certainly be actual action. Realignment news.
There's been a lot of rumors, a lot of, like you said, oh, we're having meetings and then more meetings. Maybe there'll be a proposal. Maybe there won't. Hey, what do you think about being on PAX or ION or whatever? This actually sounds like legitimate news brewing. And I think San Diego State is the best option on the West Coast to move up to a bigger league by far.
I do too. I guess the question is, how much does that change the calculus for the television deal if it's at this point not coming in at a number that has satisfied the Pac-12 bigwigs enough to commit to one?
I wonder if it is entirely because of just total number of games they can broadcast more than it is San Diego State actually adds $8 million worth of revenue versus $18 million or whatever. I wonder if it's solely, we will make a bid on your league, but we're not giving you a number until you have 12 teams. I wonder if that might be the reason why. Because if we're only getting 5 Pac-12 football games a week once conference play starts, that's not as valuable to us as getting 6 a week.
Even if the teams in those 6 are San Diego State and presumably SMU still.
I think probably SMU. Everyone wants a piece of Texas. I assume that's probably why. Although the thing about SMU, and this is not disrespect, it's just a matter of fact. It's not exactly like UT or Texas A&M kind of branding and clout. Like,
no,
I think SMU, as much as maybe any other school at the Division I level in that state, has a brand and something that they are known for, but it's probably also the least accessible of any of them. Like SMU, as far as I'm aware, is considered like the rich kid school.
The most famous thing that has happened to SMU athletics in anybody's lifetime is their football program getting shut down for cheating
and giving Trans Ams to players. Like,
no, that was the Trans A&M. That was the Trans A&M
Yes.
that Eric Dickerson was driving around in.
That's right. Sounds like there's been some work with that, with SMU figuring them into the mix, but I don't know. Boise State, Utah State, I don't know, whoever it ends up being. I think at this point they probably just want to add games more than anything.
It's about volume. It's about inventory at this point, more so than it's about like what's going to elevate our league, what's going to make our league better. And that's not a great place to be. No, but we've known for a long time that the Pac-12 is not really dealing from a position of strength.
No, not even remotely. So if you're going to add someone, that's the best option you've got. I mean, they've got one of the best teams in all of college basketball 2 of the last 4 seasons, despite playing in the Mountain West. They just were the national runners-up in basketball, and their football program has been solid. It's been steady, pretty good. 7-8 wins a year, maybe sometimes more. Feels like a good fit. As good a fit as you could get when you have to pluck a mid-major.
And, I mean, let's be honest, San Diego State is the big game in town in a lot of ways in that city. Like, you've got the Padres, and that's it. No NFL team you're competing against. And I don't know, like, how deep the passion for Aztecs athletics runs in San Diego, like, as a general rule. But I know they opened up Petco Park early before a Padres game on Saturday to watch the national semifinal, and that joint was jumping when Lamont Butler's shot went in at the end, because they had a lot of people that were seemingly pretty invested in that game, filling that ballpark a little early. So, like, it's as good as the Pac-12 can do. And I don't mean that to damn with faint praise. Like, maybe it sounds like I am. But, like, if they're going to add schools that make actual sense, that's a pretty good one. They just built a new football stadium. Obviously, they're pretty committed to basketball success. Just play for a national championship. The brand is strong at SDSU right now.
My wife has relatives who are from San Diego, good people. And the husband in the family actually on a whim bought Final Four tickets and flew down to Houston to go. And as far as I'm aware from him, it might not be like a huge, there might not be SDSU Nation out there, to make fun of the term we were bringing up the other day. But I do think there is a solid group of fans who are really into it, because they are the one show in town at this point. I don't think there's a whole lot of USD Toreros fans out there. So no, I think it makes an amount of sense. And honestly, like, they'll sell out that state. Oregon comes to town, they're going to sell out that stadium, because why wouldn't you want to go see your favorite team in San Diego?
Yeah, that's another valid point. The other thing, though, that we have a texter that points this out from the 785 on our text line, but San Diego State and SMU don't really seem to fit the mold of Pac-12 schools. SMU in particular, not just because they're not, like, on the West Coast.
They are kind of snooty.
They are.
They have that.
I don't know what their academic reputation is, but they're very different than any of the other schools that are currently in the league. And San Diego State's academic standards are very different than, well, most of the other schools in the league. I guess I won't speak for Arizona State.
Best of luck to them.
San Diego State, Arizona State would be a fun rivalry.
Yeah, it would be.
Fun conference rivalry there.
We need a good name for that. You can't have party schools like that without a good name. I don't know what it would be, but we'll find something.
Yeah.
We'll workshop. We got a long summer. We'll workshop something.
We do. First headline for me, our 580 Sports Talk headline. Wild story from the National Football League today, where Arizona Cardinals owner Michael Bidwill has been accused of gross misconduct, including cheating, discrimination, and harassment, in an arbitration claim filed by former Cardinals executive Terry McDonough to NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell. McDonough maintained that both he and former Cardinals head coach Steve Wilks were left with no choice but to follow Bidwill's plan to use burner phones to communicate with former Arizona general manager Steve Keim, while Keim was serving a 5-week suspension after pleading guilty to extreme DUI in Arizona. McDonough says he still has the phone, which he says contains evidence of the cheating scandal, as well as additional documentation. The Cardinals have strongly denied the allegations in a response sent to ESPN, calling them, quote, outlandish. So what McDonough is alleging here is that Steve Keim got popped for an extreme DUI. My favorite flavor of Doritos, by the way. And there was a 5-week period in which Keim was suspended in the summer of 2018. When you're suspended as a front office executive, you're not supposed to have any contact with other members of your organization. But McDonough is alleging that Bidwill went around this by issuing burner phones to McDonough and Wilkes so they could keep Steve Keim in the loop during this suspension. In the filing, McDonough says, quote, in response to McDonough's objection to the illicit burner phone scheme, Bidwill cursed at, berated, and formally reprimanded McDonough and ultimately demoted him, irrevocably damaging the trajectory of McDonough's 34-year career in the National Football League. Bidwill also subjected McDonough to bullying, mocking, harassing, and abusive behavior. McDonough alleges in the filing that Bidwill wrote him up for insubordination after he told Bidwill neither he nor Wilkes wanted to communicate with Keim during the suspension. McDonough also accused Bidwill of sabotaging Wilkes' first opportunity as an NFL head coach before he fired him at the end of his one season on the job. Cardinals have 20 days to respond to these claims under the NFL's dispute resolution procedural guidelines. Then Goodell shall determine whether the dispute is football-oriented or not, and whether the dispute is subject to arbitration. If it is, the commissioner conducts the arbitration in a manner designed to reach a fair and prompt outcome consistent with the circumstances of the political or the particular dispute.
There has been a statement released by a legal, or I don't even know what you would call this company, Counterpoint Strategies, who represents and speaks for the Arizona Cardinals. They have released a statement. They think that the claims are disappointing and irresponsible. They are wildly false, reckless, and opportunistic ploy for financial gain. Here's our view on the matter. There's a lot of words here. I'm not going to read them all to you on the radio. But essentially, they're saying he made it up. He's obviously levying the claims that Dan just read to you. This is going to get ugly.
McDonough has also alleged in the filing that Bidwill had treated a black employee and 2 pregnant women poorly and created an environment of fear for minority employees, although the filing does not include specifics on either alleged incident. He calls it consistent with a pattern of workplace misconduct by Bidwill that is endemic and the hallmark of his stewardship of the storied Cardinals franchise. Storied. Get out of my face.
Yeah, that's doing a lot of work there.
That's the biggest crock in the whole filing.
For what it's worth, and it may be nothing, the Cardinals were graded an F in the NFLPA player report cards for teams for treatment of families. Maybe that means something. Maybe not. I don't know, but not good. Michael Bidwill, really the whole Bidwill family, pretty much forever has been accused of being cheap. I mean, there's a reason they've moved like 18 times is because they're cheap and they just keep trying to get money from cities to build new stadiums and move to them and avoid problems in their current cities. I'm not going to say I know one way or the other what is going on here, but I'm just naturally, I'm probably going to lean against the Bidwills. Not going to make any claims, but I can't imagine they were doing things all above board.
Yeah, I would certainly have my skepticism about the Bidwills.
Not a great offseason for them.
No.
As an entire franchise.
They might be, and friend of the program, Matt Verderam, is convinced they will be the worst team in the NFL this coming year.
Yeah.
And now they got this hanging over off the field as well.
Always what you want, to suck and have bad drama off the field.
Congratulations. You're the new most dysfunctional franchise in the NFL. Like, it's got to be them now, right? Like, they've overtaken the Texans.
Oh, yeah. No, the Texans, I think, have kind of, they're still near the bottom, but they're kind of bouncing upward. Like, hey, maybe we should run ourselves like a real football team now.
Yeah.
I think the Texans are on their way up. The Cardinals they've cut a hole in the bottom of the barrel and are trying to kind of dig below that at this point.
Dig up, stupid.
That's who they've always been, though. They've been that for forever.
Yes, that's why they've never won anything of consequence.
There's a reason they haven't won a championship since 1946, I believe. 1925, they stole a championship from the Pottsville Maroons, okay? That's who they've always been forever.
Thieves.
They are thieves. Sticking with the NFL for our next 580 Sports Talk headline for today, the Las Vegas Raiders, speaking of horrible teams, continue to be hilariously funny. They are truly the retirement home for the guys who played for the Patriots in the mid 2010s. Their head coach, obviously Josh McDaniels, trying to recreate the Patriots without having the secret sauce, aka either Bill Belichick or Tom Brady. Today, the Las Vegas Raiders have signed quarterback Brian Hoyer to a 2-year deal. They have already signed Jimmy Garoppolo to a 3-year, $73 million deal. They signed, who signed Jarrett Stidham? The Broncos signed Jarrett Stidham.
Yes, they did.
So now there are 3 former Patriots backup quarterbacks in the division, the best of whom by miles is Jimmy Garoppolo. That's really all you need to say about the other quarterbacks in the AFC West. The Patriots. The Raiders also today made an addition to their coaching staff. They added a new offensive assistant coach. It's Danny Amendola, another former Patriot.
Past the point of parody, right?
Oh, no, parody's dead. And that's kind of a general comment anyway. But in the NFL especially, the Raiders are beyond parody at this point. They're literally just saying, let's just hire as many former Patriots as we can. I cannot wait for future Patriots slot receiver or Raiders slot receiver Brandon LaFell.
Is Corey Dillon busy?
Probably not. I'm sure he'd hop in. He'd coach.
Yeah, he'd be the running backs coach.
Vince Wilfork busy?
When was the last we heard from Ty Law?
Real quick, NFL note, an actual note that I'm frustrated about. The Buccaneers are signing former Seahawks safety Ryan Neal to a 1-year deal. That's a good man. Why didn't the Packers do this? That's frustrating. He's a good player.
Yeah, Ryan Neal had a good year with the Seahawks last year, and they extended the restricted free agent tender to him, and then they pulled it last week. And I think the reason they pulled it is because they also signed Julian Love, and with Love and Quandre Diggs and Jamal Adams at safety, maybe they felt like there was no room in the inn for Ryan Neal, but he's a good player, and he will help. He will help the Buccaneers.
Yeah, that's a good ad for them. So some news and notes from around the NFL today.
Next headline for me, the pairings are set for the first 2 rounds of the Masters this weekend. Tiger Woods back in action. He says he doesn't know how many of these he's got left in his surgically repaired legs and surgically repaired back and surgically repaired body. So savor Tiger at Augusta while you can. You get him this year. You get him on Thursday morning, a 9:18 Central Time tee time for Tiger on day 1 of the Masters. He'll be playing with the young Norwegian Victor Hovland and former Olympic gold medalist Xander Schauffele, one of the featured groups at Augusta this year. It'll be Woods' first tournament since he played at his own tournament, the Genesis in Los Angeles in February, tied for 45th in that one. Made the cut at last year's Masters, which was his return to competitive golf after the car accident he got in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Made the cut. He has made 23 consecutive Masters cuts in Masters that he has played in. And he finished 47th in last year's event. Other featured groups at this year's Masters, the defending champ, Scotty Scheffler, as is custom, will play with the reigning U.S. amateur champion. That's Sam Bennett. Max Homa is the third member of that threesome. Other featured groups include the threesome of John Rahm, Justin Thomas, and Cameron Young, and the threesome of Jordan Spieth, Tommy Fleetwood, and Tony Finau. Those are the 4 featured groups that are considered featured for television purposes. Rory McIlroy will tee off with Sam Burns and Tom Kim on the first 2 days of the event. Notably absent from the featured groups, any of the 18 live golf players who will tee it up starting on Thursday. Phil Mickelson, 3-time Masters champion, will play with Tom Hoge and Siwoo Kim.
Who's your pick?
Not going to give that away yet.
Okay.
Not going to give that away yet. We're going to do a little Masters talk tomorrow. I'll give you my obvious pick and I'll give you my dark horse pick.
Okay.
But we have mentioned both of them in the course of talking about this.
There you go.
So if I didn't bring up their name, I don't think they're winning the Masters. Let's say that.
Fair enough. Are you going to be glued to the TV watching all week?
I will check it out for sure. I like the Masters. It's a fun event. Obviously it's a storied course. It's really cool to see how golfers attack it. It also stands to potentially be a very soggy Masters. the chances of rain are very high into the weekend in Augusta, Georgia, to the point where researchers were digging and trying to find when the last time the Masters finished on Monday was.
Mhm.
It was 1983, if you're curious. So that could change things. Makes the course obviously a little more gettable, a little softer greens, a little mushier out there. But now I got the Masters is cool. It's a cool tournament. I enjoy watching golf probably more than the average person. Not more than the I'm above the mean when in the Sports on 580 crew, but I'm not at the top of that list.
Yeah, that's fair.
So Jake and I will nerd out over the golf on Thursday and Friday.
Is Fulton the golf guy?
I don't think Fulton's a huge golf guy.
No, I don't think so either. I am excited for you guys. That is going to be fun.
I do not have the full list. I'm going to try and pull the full list here of the tee times, because we had a texter ask if we knew when Gary Woodland was going to tee off, and I would love to tell you, and I will be able to tell you in just a moment here. Gary Woodland.
I feel like I saw his name.
Yes,
his
he
group
will
earlier.
tee off at 9:54 Central Time on Thursday. He'll be playing with former Masters champion Danny Willett and the reigning Live Golf winner of their most recent event and four-time major champion Brooks Koepka.
Oh.
So that's the group there. I think Woodland and Koepka are simpatico. I think they're pretty close.
Okay.
At least they were when they were on the same tour.
I did not realize until fairly recently that the Masters or that the majors are not actually part of the PGA Tour.
Right.
I did not know that.
Yeah, they are run in conjunction with the PGA Tour season, but they are governed essentially by the governing bodies that puts them on. So the Masters it's an invitational tournament that the Augusta National Golf Club runs. U.S. Open is the USGA's event. The PGA Championship is the PGA of America's event, which is separate from the PGA Tour. And then the Open Championship is the Royal and Ancient. That's their event. And so they make their own rules and can decide who they invite. And there are, like, the Masters, if you've won it, you're invited.
Mm-hmm.
You're invited back forever. You play it for Sandy Lyle is still playing this thing. He won it in like 1987. He's going to play one more year at the tournament and hang it up. If you are in the top 50 in the world, you qualify, and there are still some Live Tour players who have not fallen out of the world golf ranking top 50, like Cam Smith, Joaquin Niemann, Taylor Gooch, I think is still in the top 50 hanging on. But of course, the Live Golf events don't give you world golf ranking points.
Yep.
So if they don't contend well at these majors, they're not going to receive golf ranking points and could fall out of the top 50. And if they were not a previous major champion, they would stop being invited. But the Masters champions, they're still there. I'm sure it's a little bit chilly. I'm sure the champions dinner will be an interesting atmosphere with Phil Mickelson and Bubba Watson and Patrick Reed, who nobody liked anyway.
Yeah, right.
So,
my favorite golfer.
If you were the Masters champion, what would your champions dinner menu be? Scotty Scheffler is serving the Applebee's menu.
Yeah, I saw that. Man, that's a great question. I would serve, I feel like I'd have to have some sort of steak dinner. Oh, so is it a multi-course thing? Or
yeah,
is it just
multiple courses, and you can be whatever you want.
If it can be literally anything I want, I'm going to have like a weird mix of bar food and like really upscale steakhouse food. Like everybody is eating pretzel sticks to open the Masters dinner if I'm hosting it. We're all having giant pretzel sticks.
I respect that.
Yeah.
I think I go with hard not to do like a big plate of carnitas, like a taco bar type of thing.
That sounds pretty good.
That
Sounds like a
good.
wedding.
So the funniest Masters champion dinner of all time, Vijay Singh, who is from Fiji, won the 2000 Masters. And he invited some friends who had a Thai restaurant in Atlanta and had them prepare the Masters dinner. It was Thai food. Now, you can maybe imagine, because there's a bit of a regressive history politically and socially with the Masters in regards to who they let play. There had never been before a champions dinner featuring Thai food. But VJ brought out the Thai food: chicken Penang curry, sea scallops and garlic sauce, Chilean sea bass with a spicy glaze. And it freaked people out. Like Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus were ordering stuff off of the other menu at first, but then everybody gave in and tried it and loved it. Gary Player said it was the best Masters Champions dinner he's ever had, even though he spent the next 24 hours in the bathroom. Byron Nelson, the late great, loved it so much that 3 weeks after the Masters Champions dinner, he called the restaurant in Atlanta, flew there from Dallas to eat Thai food.
Good for VJ. He's doing a solid to everybody.
Yes,
helping him out.
He opened up people's opened people's eyes and
expanded their palate.
Expanded the palate exactly to Thai food.
Good for VJ Singh. Masters just 2 days away. Real quick, final headline for you from the world of women's basketball. Big news for the Kansas women's Jayhawks basketball team today. Tiana Jackson, she's going to be one of the favorites to win Big 12 Player of the Year coming up next year. She is back for another season with KU. There's a couple other players who were technically seniors but have eligibility remaining. Holly Kierskeeter among them, as well as Zakiya Franklin. If KU can return all three of those players, KU is going to be one of the best teams in the Big 12 next year. At least they should be. Talent-wise, they will be among the best teams in the Big 12 next year.
And having benefited from the WNIT run.
Yeah.
The experience of that.
Couple or 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament a year ago, win the WNIT this year. It's going to be a good year for women's basketball in the state. Ioka Lee is going to be back for K-State next year. Gabby Gregory returning for another year as well. So, no, it could be a pretty darn good year for both KU and K-State on the women's side of things coming up next year. That does it for our 580 Sports Talk headlines for today. When we come back on the other side of this break, Travis Kelce has a new business venture. If you don't already know the news, it might shock you a little bit. Then again, maybe not. We'll explain next on 580 Sports Talk. Brendan and Dan here with you on 580 Sports Talk on this Tuesday, April 4th. Travis Kelce was on a radio show in Kansas City today announcing a new business venture. Travis Kelce, along with being maybe the best tight end in the history of the NFL, is now a music festival promoter. Today, he announced the creation of Kelce Jam. That's what it's called. It'll be hosted at the Azura Amphitheater in Bonner Springs on Friday, April 28th. That is a significant day. It is the second and third rounds of the NFL draft in Kansas City. I'm not going anywhere near Jackson County, Missouri, or Wyandotte County, Kansas on that entire weekend. No, thank you. It'll be a nightmare. The Kelsey Jam will be held 6 p.m. to midnight on that day. And it features acts including Machine Gun Kelly as the headliner, Loud Luxury. I don't know who that is.
They're a DJ duo.
Ah, sure.
That's what the ESPN story says. I did not have that. I did not come armed with that knowledge to today's program.
Did Patrick Mahomes help create this lineup, possibly? Rick Ross will be there. No word on if Les Miles will be in attendance. With special guest, I don't know what this means. There's only 4 people on the list. How is one a special guest? Tech Nine.
Of course.
Because, of course, it is happening within 200 miles of Kansas City. Tech Nine will be there.
Like, Travis Kelce had barely conceived the thought of a music festival, and Tech Nine called him.
Bonner Springs, go crazy. That's essentially what we're going to be hearing all night long. 19 times you're going to hear Red Kingdom in 6 hours.
Love the quotes from Travis Kelce. With the draft coming to KC, I think it's perfect timing for me to throw the biggest music festival that's ever come here. We'll have some unreal stage productions, Kansas City's best food, tons of attractions, and football-related games. This will be a whole lot of fun. It's not, he would go on to say, every door that's been opened because of winning the Super Bowl, I've been running through them. It's not going to stop anytime soon, especially with Kelsey Jam. I think this will be the nail in the coffin for the 2022 season. I guess that's the most flattering metaphor to use, right?
We're going to murder this year. Yeah, man, I don't know about that. Also, is this really the biggest music festival that's ever come to the greater Kansas City metropolitan area? I have to disagree.
I don't know.
Like, Kelsey not going to Boulevardia this year? Never went to Wakarusa Fest when that was in Lawrence, I guess? That's a heck of a lineup. Of course, Tech Nine is there.
I'm a hard pass on Machine Gun Kelly's like whole thing.
Yeah.
Like I'm a hard no on everything he's got going on.
He was he married to Megan? What's her name?
Megan Fox?
Megan Fox. I almost said Megan Kelly. That is a very different woman. Megan Fox. Now that would be a fascinating couple. Yeah, he was with Megan Fox. I don't know if they were married. There was some picture of them like drinking each other's blood or something.
Yeah,
they're real odd.
Yeah, Megan Fox is odd duck.
Yeah.
And MGK, as the kids call him. He's an odd duck.
Machine Gun Kelly once took a powerbomb through the stage at an episode of WWE Raw. That's all I know him from.
He co-hosted an episode of Catfish on MTV.
Did he really?
Did that one time.
Yeah.
Rockies pitcher Kyle Freeland has some of his lyrics tattooed on his forearm.
Really?
Yeah.
That's odd. I know, like, if you are into Machine Gun Kelly, more power to you.
Yeah, hey, we're not here to yuck anyone's yum.
I'm sure you might not like my music.
That's not my particular
all fair
yum. Machine Gun Kelly. Rick Ross, though? I'll
go see Rick Ross.
Yeah, I'd see Rick Ross.
I have seen Rick Ross.
Yes.
Up close and personal.
At the booth.
At the booth. Late night at the booth.
I wonder if it'll be a different kind of show.
Maybe. I doubt Les Miles is going to walk up on stage and get a jersey that says boss on it.
Oh, that's too bad. You think Kelsey's going to be on the stage the whole time?
Hopefully. I mean,
it's his festival.
Yeah, I imagine he'll be up there
hanging out. Maybe he can do. He can stand in, do some verses on Rick Ross's stuff.
I bet you he knows some lyrics.
Yeah, he can stand in for a certain famous anti-Semite on "Devil in a New Dress."
Oh my. Did you, if you were a Chiefs fan, ever think that the Chiefs would be, and I don't mean that, I hope this doesn't sound insulting, but did you ever think this would, like, your team would be the cool team? Like, it's cool to be a Chiefs fan. Like, when you were losing 14 games a year and drafted Eric Fisher first overall, were you ever thinking, we're going to be cool?
We're going to be the it team. We're going to be on TV all the time.
We're going to have two of the best football players in the history of the sport and they're going to be promoting concerts and festivals in our town.
We're going to win so much that people are going to hate us.
Yeah, did you ever think that was going to happen? I can't imagine you did.
I don't think you dream that.
Imagine, like, can we win a playoff game?
Yeah,
that
was the bar, right? For many years. How about we just win a playoff game?
So here's my other question. Is this a one-shot deal? Or is Kelsey Jam 2 going to have, twice the jam? I would love to know if this is a permanent thing. Because it even says on the poster, draft weekend 2023. It's clearly intentionally for the draft.
He didn't Roman numeral it like the Super Bowl? He didn't call it
No.
Kelsey Jam I? Kelsey Jam 1?
I can only imagine who you could follow up this festival with going forward.
Kelsey said he wanted to bring some of his favorite artists, including Machine Gun Kelly, who is an Ohio native like him. He felt inspired to host his own music festival after he attended four-time Super Bowl champion Rob Gronkowski's Gronk Beach during the NFL draft in Las Vegas last year.
I can, feel the venereal diseases in the air from that festival. Gronk Beach sounds like a chapter from that erotic novel about him. Do you remember when that came out?
Yes.
A Gronking to Remember or whatever it was.
Gronk Beach sounds like the lead-in programming to Jersey Shore on MTV.
Comes on immediately after Catching Kelsey.
Gronk Beach.
So here's how this is going to work. Tickets go on sale. Well, pre-sale begins on Friday at 10 o'clock if you would like to go to Kelsey Jam. I do not know if we have prices for tickets yet. If you want to be a VIP, it'll cost you $225. That includes access to the VIP pit in front of the stage and access to the VIP lounge, which also includes complimentary gourmet bites from Q39 and unlimited alcohol, expedited entry into the venue, dedicated VIP only restrooms. That's nice for a festival.
Yeah.
And early access. You can enter the venue 1 hour prior to everyone else. That is not worth that price. the 1 hour part. The rest of it might be, but 1 hour, that seems a little early.
Loud luxury will be probably spinning that whole time. I wonder who the warm-up act is going to be.
I mean, it's got to be Tech 9, right?
Chris Calico.
Tech 9's got to come out, play Red Kingdom, play Hood Go Crazy, and then the real artists come out. That's mean. The other artists come out. I never knew anyone who listened to Tech 9 outside, before I came to Kansas.
Before you arrived within a 200-mile radius of Kansas City, Missouri? Yes, correct.
I did not know that was a thing at all.
Absolutely same.
This is, cool for Travis Kelce.
Yeah, I'm excited for Trav. He's living his best life, man. Like, you become a superstar. Like he said, walk through every door you can walk through, and he's walking through all of them.
I have found the pricing for tickets. If you want to sit on the general admission lawn, it's $50. Reserved chairback seating, $60. If you want to get into the pit up close, standing, $90. And then VIP is $225.
I'm in the pit at the Rick Ross show hosted by Travis Kelce. What a sentence.
In the year 2023. That is awesome. Good for Travis Kelce. Maybe we can get media VIP kind of stuff.
Yeah, we should agree to promote the event. Rick Ross, come on the show.
Oh, now there we go. Rick Ross, what do you remember about hanging out with Les Miles and Jeff Long?
I don't know who that is.
When he performed at the KU spring game a few years ago, I don't think I was technically supposed to, with my media credential, get as close as I got. And, but it was kind of one of those situations where if you look like you know where you're going, people will generally not stop you. So I just kept walking, and nobody with badges stopped me. And I ended up 6 rows from Rick Ross. Think it might be a little more secure at Kelsey Jam.
Probably.
We'll find out. We've got to get to a break. We'll talk Royals Blue Jays up next on 580 Sports Talk. Finishing up 580 Sports Talk today, we've got Royals baseball coming up. Pregame begins at the top of the hour here on 580 WIBW. Boys in Blue taking on the Blue Jays today, game 2 of the series. Yusei Kikuchi on the hill, not very good against righties in his career. Royals sending a ton of righties to the plate. Seems favorable to Kansas City.
All of the righties they can find. Matt Quatrero said if we had more, we'd play more, but we got all of them in.
I got it right with the Royals winning yesterday. My score was a little bit off, but I was right with the Royals winning. I will say that the Royals can do it again. I always liked Yusei Kikuchi, but those numbers are actually a lot worse than I thought they were, and that does not encourage me a whole lot. I will go with the Royals to continue getting it done today, even though they are starting Matt Duffy, which is odd in the year of 2023. Royals are underdogs in this one, even though they're at home. Blue Jays minus 176 over at FanDuel. Royals are plus 148. The Royals team over under, let me pull this up here. They are currently, again, this is at FanDuel, at 4.5, a whole run ahead of yesterday. They're over under 4.5 runs. The Blue Jays are at 5.5 for today. We haven't talked much about Chris Bubich being on the mound. That's kind of terrifying.
Well, let's see what he's got. I mean, this is the last chance saloon for Chris Bubich as a major league starting pitcher, right? Like, he's got to prove he can do it now or it's never for him. I don't mean like just this start. His big league career is in the balance, but you know, the stuff has been there. The mentality, the mental fortitude maybe has wavered at times. The consistency has certainly wavered at times. But new regime, new pitching coaches, maybe that's helped him. We'll see what the arsenal looks like. We'll see if the fastball plays up. We'll see what his off-speed stuff looks like tonight. We'll see how he deploys it against a lineup with a whole lot of right-handed power in it. That's the danger against Toronto, because Lagero Jr. and Matt Chapman and Bo Bichette, those are some bad dudes. George Springer, bad dudes, and they all swing from the right side. So this is a dangerous one for Chris Bubich.
Here is an over-under off the top of my head. Over-under 4.5 innings pitched by Chris Bubich today.
I'm going to go with under, especially we've seen some footage on Twitter that it looks like there is a substantial wind in Kansas City tonight, and that wind may be favoring the hitters. We have confirmation of that, in fact, from the text line. Wind's blowing straight out to center. Yeah. That could be bad for a fly ball pitcher like Chris Bubich.
Yeah, not especially encouraging. I don't know.
What do the home run markets look like tonight on FanDuel?
Let me pull those back up.
I have them right here. I'll tell you what is interesting to me. Hunter Dozier, who has a home run against Yusei Kikuchi and 6 at-bats, he's plus 680 to Dinger tonight.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Might be a value play there.
Yeah, certainly might be. And if you want to make some of those value plays, you can do so over at FanDuel.
That's right. Grand slams, no hitters, and double plays are back, and there's no better place to get in on the MLB action than FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now new customers can step up to the plate with a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Just go to FanDuel.com/Lucero to sign up, place your first bet, and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win. You can bet lots of different things. Home run markets, team over-unders, whether there will be a run in the first inning, or you can build a same-game parlay with your favorite matchup of the day. So don't miss your chance to get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/Lucero to sign up. Log on to your computer, FanDuel.com/LUCERO. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball trademarks used with permission. Must be 21 and present in Kansas. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
Speaking of gambling real quick, you and I both had some pretty profitable days yesterday with the national championship.
Yeah, we did. UConn minus 7.5 was a winner. And I also jumped on UConn minus 9.5 at plus 140 on.
Whoa!
That was a winner too.
That's pretty nice. Yeah.
I was confident in a blowout.
Yep. I was pretty confident UConn would win. Then I saw Drake betting a lot of money on it. I was a little less confident.
Understood.
But, no, I mean, they were the best team in the tournament by a lot. And pretty deserving that they end up hoisting the trophy at the end. We'll finish up today's edition of 580 Sports Talk. Get some final thoughts after this with the final word. Coming up tomorrow on 580 Sports Talk, we're going to have some audio from Bill Self's season wrap-up press conference. We'll also talk plenty about Jerome Tang's end-of-season press conference that happened this week. I believe it was today, in fact. And we'll talk more K-State with Tim Fitzgerald of GoPowerCat.com in our Azure Credit Union Wildcat wrap-up. All that and much more coming up tomorrow on 580 Sports Talk. Right now, though, we're going to wrap up today's edition of the show with a quick final word.
In the past, the Kansas City Royals probably would have run Vinny Pasquantino and MJ Melendez out there in tonight's lineup against Blue Jays left-hander Yusei Kikuchi. Never mind the fact that Kikuchi allows a batting average of 66 points higher and an OPS nearly 200 points higher against righties than against lefties. No, development over everything. That's what the Royals have been about. Matt Quatrero's benching those two young left-handed bats and getting as many right-handed bats into the lineup as he can tonight because right-handers hit Yusei Kikuchi better. Development is nice. You need to develop young players for certain, and those guys are going to have their chance. But tonight, in the right here and the right now, it's about winning game number 5 of the regular season and making sure you don't start 1-4. That's a mindset change I can get behind.
Final word for me is that UConn was absolutely deserving of winning that national championship. San Diego State played hard. They played their hearts out. They just didn't have the shot makers. UConn did. They also had the size and the speed and the ability to do pretty much everything that San Diego State would possibly struggle with in that game. Congrats to UConn. They were the best team in the tournament. And look, whether or not you want to have the blue blood discussion again for the billionth time, whether you want to debate, would you rather have UConn's success or someone else's? No one's going to take 5 titles in 24 years away from you. That's a pretty darn good accomplishment. And hopefully one of our teams is going to be in that spot come the 2024 NCAA tournament. That does it for 580 Sports Talk today. Again, we've got plenty to get to tomorrow. More KU, more K-State. We'll, of course, recap this Royals game as well against the Blue Jays coming up tonight. If you missed any of the show, go check out the podcast version of it on our website. That's 580WIBW.com. Just go to the podcast tab and click on 580 Sports Talk. Or you can head to our YouTube channel, Sports on 580 WIBW. Subscribe, and then you can go back and watch the live stream as well. Until tomorrow at 3, for Dan Lucero, I'm Brendan Brzezinski. Thanks for listening to 580 Sports Talk.